Hey, greetings everyone. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. I hope you all are enjoying your Memorial Day weekend. If you are, please have some barbecue for me. Not sure what I'm going to be doing today. Gonna be catching up on some work, so probably won't be eating someone's barbecue. But if there's some barbecue on a grill that is walking distance from my house, I will go get some. But I've been out today and I haven't smelled really any barbecues going on. So I guess a lot of people are just chilling today. But happy Memorial Day. Hopefully you enjoy your Memorial Day. Also, tours. We are still rolling to Nigeria in August. We are still rolling to Nigeria in August 8th through the 17th. Again, August 8th through the 17th, we are rolling to Nigeria. If you are interested, again, if you are interested in joining us, please visit Danfo, DANFO Africa. Again, please visit Danfo, DANFO Africa, and we will love to have you. Also, Sierra Leone, November 20th through December 3rd. Again, November 20th through December 3rd, we are still rolling to Sierra Leone. Citizenship. Again, citizenship, that coveted second passport. Again, that coveted second passport um, is available to those who qualify. Again, is available to the land provost. If you want to go, shoot me an email, hello@donfo.africa, or just go to the site, donfo.africa, send me a message. Also, guys, when you message me, please include your phone number. Again, when you message me, please include your phone number. So we got Nigeria, August 8th through the 17th, Sierra Leone, November 20th through December 3rd. So would love to have you. Would love to have you guys join us. It will really mean a lot. Um, Citizenship. Sierra Leone. If you have your DNA results, if they link back to Sierra Leone, but it has to be maternal or paternal. Again, maternal or paternal. It just can't be the generic percentages like they do on Ancestry.com and 23andMe. It has to be like Sierra African ancestry. So African ancestry, it states specifically maternal and paternal. Shout out to Buggy Worldwide TV for the $9.99 holla. Again, thank you, Buggy Worldwide TV. Appreciate you for the $9.99 holla. So again, it has to state maternal and or paternal on your results. It just can't say, and it has to have the tribe as well. And it has to have the tribe as well. It can't just be the percentage. You can't just show that. It has to have maternal or paternal, like African ancestry. I personally do not know any other DNA. Again, I personally do not know of any other DNA providers or whatever outside of African ancestry that break it down specifically by maternal and paternal. I only know African ancestry. But if you have results that show maternal or paternal, and they don't come from African ancestry, hit me up, shoot me an email, include your phone number, send me what you got. The only thing I could do, I can't promise anything. I could go ahead and send the results over. Uh, they can take a look at them and they'll let me know if you qualify or not. Again, if you have DNA results that link back to Sierra Leone and it says specifically the tribe, and if the maternal or paternal, let me know, hit me up, and all I can do is send it over and they'll take a look at it and we'll go from there. So that's it. Guys, hit that like button again. Please hit the like button. So today's topic, we're not gonna be here long. We're coming back this evening. Me and brother Abube. Let me message Abube right now. While it's on my mind, let me message Abube right now. So me and Abube will be coming back. Okay, Jamelia, hit me up. Jamelia, send me an email. Include your phone number. Again, send me an email, Jamelia, and include your phone number. And guys, also too, we do installment plans. You don't have to pay everything at one time. When it comes to the tours, we do installment plans. Now, when it comes to Nigeria, since it's right around the corner, it's gonna be a little bit different. But when it comes to Sierra Leone, we do installment plans, so you don't have to pay everything at once. I know some of you guys are like, "Look, I gotta get my money together." Look, put down $500. That locks in your spot. We got seven spots left. 7 spots left. Put down your $500, and then you can spread out the payments till October 1st. October 1st is when the final payment will be due. Again, October 1st is when the final payment will be due. So hit me up, send me email, include your phone number. So let's see here. Oh, so reparations. Somebody, I should have brought Kala on here, man. I should have brought Kala on. Kala would have been great for this subject. In regards to, reparations in Liberia. Somebody brought up an interesting, asked a question. I think it was last video I did or stream I did yesterday, or either it was on Friday. And the question was, should Liberia be considered our form of reparations? Again, should Liberia be considered our form, or should it be considered our reparations? Now, when you look at like reparations, people say cut the check. Cut the check. Where's the money? Where's the check? But the only problem, okay, now this thing, like I said, you can cash at me my reparations. I'm not going to tell anybody how to spend their money. You are grown. You spend your money however you seem fit. You spend your money however you want to. Again, you spend your money however you want to. Spend it however you see fit. But this is the issue with reparations in the form of money. All you guys gonna do, they'll give you your reparations check. And again, you spend your money how you want to. You do whatever you want with your money. The U.S. is gonna see that if say they gave us $100 billion, all you're gonna do is circulate that money and give that money back. I mean, you're just gonna give that money right back by spending it, doing whatever. You're gonna be paying taxes on it more than likely. So all you're going to do is give that money right back. So again, reparations, I get it, cut the check, but all you're gonna do is give that money right back. The majority of us are gonna blow it and give it right back. That's the only problem I see. But again, your money, spend it how you want to. Versus Liberia, where you had the opportunity to completely separate and build a nation of your own, where you set the rules, where you dictate what happens. You had the opportunity to truly control your own destiny. Again, you had the opportunity to continue to build and define your own destiny. Because what's gonna happen? You get reparations. We still gonna be complaining about the same stuff for another 400 years. Then when that money is gone, then what? Again, you get reparations, spend it all, give it right back, continue to complain about the same stuff that we're complaining about the last 400 years. Versus having a land of your own where you dictate what's going on, what happens, set your own laws, set your own rules, run your own government, etc., etc., etc. So, was Liberia the best form of reparations for Black America? Was Liberia? That's the question. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put um, the link in the chat room. If you want to call in, go ahead and call in. Again, if you want to call in, go ahead and call in. Now, do I agree? Yeah, there we go. Exactly, Diners. We got integration and we still complaining. That's my point. That's my point. Shout out to brother Rakeem. Shout out to Rakeem in the chat room. Like I said, they could cash at me my reparations, but I'm not gonna be tripping off of it. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. It's not a big deal to me. But they can cash app it to me. Guys, links in the chat room. I see a lot of people. You got a point. Liberia was not initiated by the U.S. government, but it was, I guess, encouraged by the U.S. government. It wasn't initiated, but it was somewhat encouraged, because at the end of the Civil War, in the Emancipation Proclamation, Abraham Lincoln was like, look, what are we going to do with these Negroes? I mean, what are we going to do with these Negroes? It was probably funded, correct? No, what are we going to do with these Negroes? I mean, we freed them, but we really don't want them to be here. We're not going to give them equal rights. So, let's ship them out. Let's ship them out. Let's ship them out. So yeah. So I think Liberia should be visa free for America. I agree, but that's you got to take that up with Liberia officials. So again, links in the chat room. If you want to call in, add to the conversation. Was Liberia our form of reparations? Because is there a debt owed to what you call foundational Black Americans or ADOS? Yeah, I agree. There's a debt owed. But at the same time, family, we were free labor. I mean, we were free labor. They were free. I mean, we were free labor at the end of the day. I mean, are we owed? Yeah, but at the end of the day, we're free labor. The argument that we have ownership. Liberia was visa free before the war. I think it was. In fact, Al was visa free before the war. It was visa free. Everybody was going to Liberia. Like Liberia before the coup, the first coup. In fact, Liberia before the first coup was like what Ghana is today. Everybody was going to Liberia. Everyone. I mean, Michael Jackson had a song Liberia Girl or Woman, whatever it's called. Everyone was going to Liberia before the first war. I mean, first coup. All right, Yee. I don't know how to say your name. Yeah, AD. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Let me get the speaker together so I can hear you. Oh, go ahead. Unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Dynasty. Once again, I think the real deal is actually that the global Black community needs to do certain things before. I think it's putting the cart ahead of the horse with regards to reparations. Everybody would want reparations. I understand that the hurt and the level of exploitation that African Americans have gone through. But like you rightfully said, if it's a cash reparations, what's going to happen is going to go back to the same system that gave the cash. Predominant, everyone will blow it up, right? So what's really needed, I think, symbolism, like symbolic wins. We should be sick and tired of symbolic wins by now. We should start looking for value addition, real.
That's all we want. We just want symbolism. That's all we want. We want symbolism. That's it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's high time we look at the real actual work that we need to do. We need to look at the interests of the different demographic groups of Black people globally. We have Afro Latinos, we have Caribbean people, we have Indigenous African people. We need to first be thinking about, hey, the first thing we need to do is build a global sovereign institution based on group economics, what Dr. Claude Anderson has been campaigning for in America that African Americans have not been able to achieve, right? Creating a global institution with that as its foundation and putting the interests of all the different demographic groups of Black people globally into consideration while implementing this level of social engineering. At that point, we can then start talking about reparations and things of that nature, because Caribbean countries as well have their own reparations that they're asking of. The African continent, at least West Africa, has its own reparations that it will be asking for. So we need to look at that as first things first. Let's deal with the hard work first. How do we create a global institution where all the interests of the different demographic groups of Black people is understood, and then use that to campaign forward? That way we can social engineer our people globally into knowing that, oh, this is why we're doing this and this is what we want to achieve. Having said that, that's for that. With regards to Liberia, Liberia was the first ever imperialist program the United States of America ever did.
I need proof on that.
Basically, think about it. Before, like, okay, we can say Haiti was the first, but Liberia was the one where they actually sent, African Americans to a country, dominated that country, which already had indigenous
No,
African.
no, 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 no. These they weren't sent there. They were okay. How can I say this? They weren't sent. They were dumped. There we go. They were dumped there. Let's
Yeah,
let's be
yeah, I
specific.
didn't
They
want to
were
use that
they
word.
were they were dumped there. This
Yeah,
wasn't a. They weren't sent there.
yeah.
They were dumped here. Like,
I,
okay,
I,
get these Negroes out of America. We're gonna dump them over here, Liberia. Or first it
yeah,
was Sierra Leone, and they went to Liberia. Let's dump them. They
yeah.
were dumped. That was the plan. So go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't want to use the word dumped, right? So I just wanted to use the word sent. Do you know why I used the word sent? Was because what also happened was the African Americans that were in Sierra Leone and Liberia still had ties to the USA government. So whatever they practically
Tie. What kind of ties do they have? Give me. I need that.
economic
I need
trade.
everybody. I mean, okay, so we're in a global community. Everybody's going to do
At,
trade amongst each other globally. I mean, I
at
don't I
that
don't see that
time,
as being. I don't see that as being,
Diana
something.
said at that time it wasn't a global economy per se, trade wise. It
There,
was
there was to a point. I mean, Europe was important salt from. Okay, so I mean, so why was Christopher Columbus trying to get to India? Why
yeah,
were there was global trade.
Thinking, what I mean is this, right? It was them establishing capitalism at the time. So it was them exploiting other people and taking the resources back to Europe, back to America. It wasn't global trade in the sense that
No,
the
no, no,
indigenous people
no,
even had a say in,
no,
oh,
no,
we are
no, no.
giving you this.
That's not true. So when the freed slaves first went to Liberia, actually the trade was between the free black slaves in America and the freed slaves in Liberia. That's where a lot of the trade came from. It was black on black.
Um, I,
And
I,
then you had the Massaquais. You had a lot of indigenous tribes who were heavily involved
yeah. Now,
in the
I would
founding of
say
Liberia.
the dynasty. If you look at what happened
And
that
then and
led
then
to
and
the
then, and
civil
then
wars.
if I can interject just one more time, if you want to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about capitalism, and we're talking about that, these free slaves who went back to Liberia set up capitalism. The original capitalism is when indigenous Africans were selling other Africans to white people. That's where that's where I guess if you want to talk about capitalism, then versus what these free black slaves who returned home were doing.
Okay, so let's talk about this capitalism of indigenous Africans selling other Africans to white people. You see, there is always that conversation that arises, right? And then when you look at the facts of the matter, predominantly you're looking at people that were already colonized. They were already subdued. They weren't in a position of power that they were actually giving, their sisters and brothers out into slavery. It was an issue of they had
They
gotten.
were. They were. But go ahead.
Wait, no. Do you know why? Do you know why I'm saying this? Because even my own ethnic nationality kingdom had people enslaved and taken to the Americas, right? And every time my granddad passed away at 112. Every time we spoke about it, he would say they usually used to see when they were coming to raid them, and so then they would start running and trying to escape, and then those who got caught would then be sent, to the
Okay.
Americans.
Who led the raids?
Now, the raids were always from, um, it was always a situation where they would see the white people and they will also see other Africans with the white people. Now, what was
It
happening?
was the Africans who brought the white people into the interior. That's what it was. Go ahead.
What used to happen was this: the white people would enslave one group of Africans, and those group of Africans, they would make them go to enslave other groups of Africans. It wasn't a situation where one group was saying, "Oh, you know what? We are going to do this business with you, and then we'll go and enslave other people." It was a situation where it's kind of like an army. You conquer a city. You bring in their best, and then you go to conquer the next city. So that's what they were doing, really. And you have so many stories of African kings and queens, fighting against the entire slave trade, and fighting against and then getting conquered, and their own armies and things involved with the white people to go and do conquest as well. So we need to put that into consideration. It wasn't as though the Africans were
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
selling
Listen,
out.
Africans were selling. I've been to just about every slave dungeon on the west coast of Africa. The story was the same. Africans were selling other Africans for umbrellas, mirrors, what else? Gin. I mean, that was a story across the board,
Dynasty.
every single. And so when we talk about capitalism, we're not gonna pin the origins of capitalism on the free black slaves who returned back home to Africa and just completely omit the Africans who were selling other Africans to white people.
Dynasty. Have you looked at the in all the different slave dungeons you've gone to and those countries, right? Have you ever once? I know you're soon going to be going to Africa, to Nigeria and Sierra Leone, right? Have you ever asked them for their academic curriculums?
Is European. The current academic curriculum is European.
100%, right? It's
Right.
Eurocentric, right? And if you sit and when you look at the stories of those dungeons, right? There is one thing I always realize. It's the exact same thing the Eurocentric academic curriculum that was left
No,
behind.
no, no, no.
Listen to this, right?
Okay, okay, go ahead.
Listen to
Go
this,
ahead.
right? It's exactly the same interpretation, right? That they are actually put in there. Why I say this is this, right? It, for instance, in Nigeria, the oldest artifacts in Nigeria was found on um, our ancestral land, right? And we are not in the academic curriculum of Nigeria. You understand? So if they had not found those artifacts and carbon dated those artifacts scientifically and said, "Wow, this is older than all these other ethnicities," right? We wouldn't even know, the world wouldn't even know about us. Do you see where I'm coming from? So a lot of those stories, right? Pinch of salt.
No, no, because okay, so when it comes to, I would say, African formal education, it is European based. They barely, if not even at all, even discuss the slave trade in these schools and places of higher education in Africa. But when it comes to when I'm sitting down with the chiefs, when I'm sitting down with the kings, when it comes to uh, even the griots, in general, they will tell you that their ancestors sold their family and friends to white people in exchange for certain goods. That is capitalism. So
Now,
this idea, that's just what, and
yeah,
it's what it is. It's what it
now,
is. It's what it is. I'm over it.
Dynasty,
It's what it is.
Dynasty. Do you know why I take it with a pinch of salt, right? The oldest
Bam, hold on, hold on. I gotta
iron.
stop you right here. Bam, King Gezo of Dahomey, one of the biggest slave traders. That whole Dahomey kingdom in present day Benin. That right there, I mean, the biggest slave trading kingdom involved hand in hand with the Portuguese. I mean, and the evidence is there. I go to Benin every year. I mean, it's just, and you can't blame the white
Yeah.
man in his
Okay.
history. Like
Uh.
that's just. In Nigeria, Madam Tinubu, huge slave trader,
Yeah. Now,
right there
Madame
in Nigeria.
Tinubu was. Think about this, right? Madame Tinubu was a prostitute and turned slave trader.
Okay,
She actually was in prostitution and she had her own brothel
yeah.
and turned slave trader. So that is like that is like the miscreants of society, right? What I am saying is this, right? When I hear things like they sold Africans sold their sisters and brothers for rum and mirrors, right? On our answer, the artifacts they found that we were using iron, we were smelting irons before Caucasians came out the Caucasus Mountain. So that means we had already been able to look at our images already before Caucasians came out the Caucasus Mountains. So and we were already having we had our own alcoholic beverages already. Are you seeing what I'm trying to say? So if these so
Yeah,
that's
yeah, but I see what
so
you're doing. You're
so
doing mental judo. Nah, the Liberia was the source of capitalism. Us
no, no,
Africans
no.
who
No,
sold other
I'm just trying.
Africans. Nah, we didn't have nothing
No,
to do with that
no.
capitalism.
I'm trying to make you guys see something, right? I'm first finishing this thought with regards to that. My ethnicity already had iron. They could already see themselves with iron. They were able to see their images, right? And then they had massive sculptures they were building in metal. And then they already had a brew they were already having alcohol at the time. So for me, thousands of years down the line, all of a sudden, some white people come with alcohol and mirrors to sell, our people. To me, it's a bit stretching, right? But that's what the academic curriculum says, the Eurocentric academic curriculum says. Now, moving on to Liberia, right? There was an issue in Liberia that caused the civil war in Sierra Leone and also in Liberia. What happened was the indigenous Africans eventually, after African Americans came around, oh wow, and then they brought the initial trade that happened between them. Oh, they brought all these new things, and Africans are always curious, and they traded those. Then by the time it started to settle down, they started exploiting the indigenous Africans so they could export whatever they were producing on that land to the Americas, to
Give me an
America,
example.
not the
Give me
Americas, to
give me
America
give
specifically.
me an example. Give me an example.
So there was one about cotton at some point.
I,
There
I
was
need I need I need specific examples. I need specific.
I can't do specifics off
Yeah,
my
well,
head.
I mean, we
These are
can't do
things like
vague.
I read like
We can't do vague and abstract when it comes to this. I need specific examples.
because these are things I'd read like years ago, and also when I went to Liberia as well, then my uncle was in Liberia, so I had to go to Liberia, and then I heard like these stories. Then the civil war
You
started.
heard, yeah, you heard. Let me
So
ask.
it was
So
Good.
let me ask you.
between.
Greetings, Dynast. Thanks
Oh
for
no,
letting me on.
I just want to ask one question real quick. So, yeah, was Liberia better off pre 1980 coup or post 1980 coup?
With the civil war, that's the thing, right? At the time, it was a situation where you had African Americans actually come to Liberia and actually still have the colonialist state of mind, because don't forget we're talking about an
Okay,
era
what's the colonial state of mind?
that
Okay,
was
so yeah,
they practically
let's break this down. I'm sorry to interrupt. Let's break this down from I am a free black slave who just stepped off of the plantation. All right, there was no Google. We
it's
weren't
not.
even allowed. We weren't. Let me finish. We weren't allowed to read.
Mhm.
Okay, we're just told. Listen, you Negroes are going back home. You want to sign up. You want to go back home. We dumping you in West Africa. We go. Okay, so when we arrive, there's tribalism. You had Africans still participating in the slave trade to other white people to the point where you had the Port Crescent massacre, where literally, I forgot the name of the chief, was literally selling other Africans in front of the newly settled returnees. And some of the other tribes are like, look, man, we got these new returnees here. Do you think it'll be? I mean, this is kind of disrespectful by selling other Africans to white people right in front of them, knowing what their situation was back in America. This chief said, take them out. So you had the Port Crescent Massacre. Look it up. So you're saying this colonial mindset as if there was a unified one Africa when these free slaves returned home. Like there was just a single monolithic Africa for them to integrate to, which is not true.
No, no. Like there was already the spread of that colonial mindset. It's not one-sided. There was that one from the Western Hemisphere and on the African continent. You need to understand that situation, and we're still having the same issues till today. But
Mhm.
what happened was when they got back with their links with the United States of America, understanding the era of that time, they only knew how to be to create plantations, they became the masters of plantations and on the African continent, because that's all they knew how to do. So you need to also put that into the context of the era of the time, what was done, and you can see it still happening till today. You still have Africans who would prefer foreign goods than domestic goods as well. manufactured things on the continent, they will prefer a European one. You know, Masters water is cooler than, you know, any other water. So you see that on the continent, and in that era, even today, it was the same thing 200 years ago. It was practically the same thing that happened. So you, on both sides,
All
you
right.
had these people who
So
thought that
200 years.
way.
So 200 years ago, what were the American Liberians importing from Europe that they deemed better than what was already on the continent?
What were the Liberians importing from Europe?
Yeah, you brought up this whole importing, how you know they today, present day, how Africans see that the white man's ice is colder. And
It's
when I so what I'm asking, when the American Liberians came to Africa, when they came to Liberia, they wanted to completely separate from the white man's ice. So I'm asking, what were they
exporting.
importing?
You mean exporting?
Yeah, exporting because they. I mean,
Yeah,
we're in a global society, so yes, they were
yeah. They were
trade
exporting at that
export. Yeah,
time. They were exporting
they were
agriculture.
exporting. They were exporting Liberian goods across the world, which is you're supposed to do.
Exactly, they were exporting agricultural goods at
Yeah,
that time.
which is nothing you're supposed to
So,
do. What's wrong with that?
so having said that, right? What then happened was they were the middlemen at that time and exporting, and the indigenous people were not having any of that wealth in that essence that caused the civil war. That's practically what caused
That's not true. So I'll give you an example with Firestone, right? Firestone alone created an indigenous middle class. Oh, here goes Kyla. Kyla can break this down, but let me do this. So, this idea that indigenous Liberians did not see any of that wealth is not true. I mean,
no,
Firestone
no.
alone created a huge indigenous middle class.
You need to see something dynasty. It doesn't mean there aren't people who actually didn't benefit. When we're saying things like that, it's you see, this is an individualistic type of approach to things. We're looking at the collective. It's like Mississippi in America, in Black America. Let's say Mississippi is benefiting from some trade that's harming, let's say, majority of Black America. It doesn't mean that later down the line we would say, but Black America benefited. You see what I mean? I think we need to look at the collective aspect about it, as in where things were at that time and what
Okay,
led to what.
I'm gonna ask you one more question. I'm gonna let
Yeah.
Larry speak, and then I'm bring on Kyla. Liberia, is it better off? Is it better off now, or was it better off post 1980 or before 1980? That's my last question.
Two different eras.
Oh man, come on, dude. That is. I'm about to turn it to Brandon. That is an easy question to answer. Was it better off pre 1980 or post 1980?
Post 1980.
How?
Post 1980, post 1980, because of, yes, they had their civil war. They have stabilized
They
now.
had two. They had two
Yeah,
civil wars.
they had their civil wars. They have stabilized now. They had their first female president, and then they are evolving now.
That you're giving me symbolism, what you brought up before.
Those are not
Better
symbols.
off.
Those
Okay,
are values.
what I'm saying is look at Liberia post 1980 and look at it pre 1980. I mean that it's night and day. Hold on, Larry, go ahead, bro. Let me mute yourself, and then I'm gonna bring Kyle on. Go on, Larry.
Thanks very much. I just want to say, listening to both of you, the things you were doing, in my opinion, it goes without saying there were Africans who were involved in the slave trade. It was very lucrative. There were kingdoms that were also involved, whether it was the Dahomey Kingdom, Ashanti Kingdom, Oyo Kingdom, Sokoto Caliphate, the Kingdom of Boni, the Benin Kingdom. I mean, and then you go up to the north of Africa, you had the Barbary pirates and the Moors. also involved in slavery. So yeah, there were Africans who were involved in it. What they did was bad. It caused a lot of problems. That's my opinion. From the stuff I've seen, there's no debate about it. The interesting thing about Liberia, when a lot of Black Americans did go to Liberia, of course, what we found is that there were already people there. And unfortunately, there was a clash that took place between the Black Americans and some of the indigenous tribes in that region we call Liberia. And some of the indigenous people viewed the Black Americans as being, white oppressors with blackface for whatever reason. They did their best to try and get on. It caused a kind of class system where you will find in Liberia people with English sounding names, usually attributed to their American ancestry. And more often than not, in the past, those people were the ones who used to have power in Liberia. So I guess an example would be someone like Charles Taylor, who was like the dictator. I mean, he's got that because he talks about his Black American ancestry. So unfortunately, he did
Charles Taylor was not Black American ancestry. He was Gola.
Well, that's what he claimed.
But he did not claim that. You see, you
He was, hold on, he was. I think he was mixed. He was like half and half.
He was half and half. But I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. People.
Okay, so if he's half and half, what was the other half? What was the other half? Hold on a minute.
Ever claimed to be American Liberian. He never did that. Charles Taylor.
You're misconstruing what I've actually said. I said he claimed to have American ancestry.
But what I'm saying is, this
is so what exactly are you arguing with me? Then
hold. This is a problem. What I'm saying. This is what I'm saying about like, a lot of Black Brits and a lot of Black foreigners. The jealousy and the envy of African Americans and the worshiping of African Americans and the worshiping of American Liberians got to stop. It's a low self-esteem issue. The African Americans, the American Liberians, so-called, no one ever called themselves American Liberians. That's a term the British.
I never said they called themselves American Liberians.
So when you say he's American Liberian, that means you say this group. There was never such a group called American Liberian.
I never said that. You have to listen to what I've said. I said that he said he was of that ancestry. You've just come in making a whole... Exactly. So again, what exactly are you arguing about? I said that
what I'm saying is you said they were an elite class and they were separate from the indigenous. That's not true. The two most powerful families in Liberia were indigenous, the Fambulas and the Massaquois. They're the two most powerful families. And then each indigenous family had it. You gotta understand how Liberia was formed, right? It's like joining a social club. The Grebos had their educated and they became rich, elite. They're part of the system, right? The president, the vice presidents of since the founding republic were always indigenous, right? The Vides were part of the country. Once you became educated, you became a Liberian. That's simple as that. Now, ask a question. People always say, you understand, Liberia was trying to build a republic. They were not trying to build some extended village where everybody feel good. A republic has laws, right? They had laws. They had a port of entry law.
That's going into something that I'm not talking about. I didn't talk about that. You're just making a speech about something that I'm not talking about.
Hold on. Let's do one mic.
Because I was actually talking. He's now gone off on a rant, talking about something which is not what I was talking about.
Well, I think he's addressing Ye. But Larry, go.
So who's he addressing? Is he addressing me or Ye? Because what he says doesn't make any sense.
That was made. You guys both sound the same. So
we both sound the same.
No
so
offense.
You don't actually know what I was talking about. Well, I actually have an English accent. Ye doesn't have an English accent. So I don't know. You seem to have come on this panel with this energy to start doing this attacking thing.
All right. Well, I apologize. Go on with your point.
My first point was that yes, that the Africans were involved in slavery, and my second point was that the Americans came over. They did their best. There were some people who clashed with them. And then there was a bit of a division for a while in that history. You didn't say it
first time. You didn't say some first time. You said they clashed with them.
They clashed with them. So they clashed with indigenous tribes. So your beef with me is the fact that I didn't use the word some. That's why you have aggressive
You made a generalization because that's not the accurate truth. Every tribe in Liberia.
I'm gonna make this very simple. Was there any clashes between Black Americans and indigenous tribes? It's a very simple question. Are you going to acknowledge that question? Because I'm not going to just let you just do a rant. Was there any clash between Black Americans and some of the indigenous tribes?
You want the answer? You want the answer?
Yes.
Right? See, what you're doing is you're putting the us
So you're
on
not
trial.
going to answer the question.
Hold on. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. If you stop for a second, you know what I'm saying? I've been through hundreds of bases like this. You're not going to win. You know what I'm saying? I'm explaining to you.
Just
right?
answer the question. I'm not interested in your Jerry Springer attitude.
Let me answer the question. That's not simple. It's nuanced. It's not as simple as that, right? First of all, when you go to any place, right, when you're negotiating for land, you're trying to resell, there's going to be conflict no matter what.
Okay, so there was conflict.
So tell me, is there conflict when the Ghanaians went to Nigeria?
So there was
conflict.
conflict.
Of course, it's conflict.
So there's nothing. Okay, so then you just proved my point. So you just came in here to argue about something which you've actually agreed to.
What are you talking about?
So there was conflict when some of the Black Americans came over with the indigenous people in Liberia. You've acknowledged that. So what exactly were you arguing about?
Context, right? You said
I don't care about context. That's not what we're talking about.
Hold on.
You came in here trying to make out that there was no clash at all. You've now admitted to it. No, this is not what you're going to do, because I was actually talking. I waited patiently for you to
Kala,
finish.
Ellery and Kala, can you guys
mute
your mics? 1 minute. You guys mute.
No, you guys.
Kala, 1 second.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's do this. Larry, go ahead and finish your statement. Kala, don't interrupt. No one interrupt. Hold on. Larry, go ahead and finish your statement. You got 1 minute. Don't, Colin, no one, do not interrupt. Go ahead, Larry.
Thanks. As I was saying, they came there to start afresh from the oppression they were experiencing. Unfortunately for them, there were clashes with indigenous people. They resolved it, but that history of them clashing with the indigenous people and some indigenous people looking at them as invaders existed. That's it.
Okay, now my point that I'm trying to make is this. Well, you said those clashes, you make it seem like it was their fault. It wasn't their fault. You know, some indigenous people, right? But people overlook in history, and I wish you would have Sister Cow on Dynasty Clarify, because she's indigenous and she is like the most patriotic Liberian, and she's my teacher on Liberia. You know, the bottom line is this: the clash was the fact that you had the clash of civilizations, right? And if you know anything about civilization, right, like that, civilization is always going to win out against the non-civilization. Liberia, the America, I hate the term, America Liberia was bringing modern way of life, modern civilization, which was the future, which all of them agree now, yeah, we need a republic. We're part of a nation now. You know, we're not part of a Gola Federation. We're not part of a Mamba Federation. We're not a Day, whatever like that. We're all Liberians, and the world sees us like Liberians. Do you know that all the Liberians that you see now in the territory right now signed treaties to join Monrovia because they saw how brutal the French were and the British were across the border? That the Liberians and Nimba, that's why I said we're going to Nimba next year to do a grand celebration. You know, Nimba is where Liberia, the indigenous Liberia, said we are Liberians, because the people on the other side of the Guinea border right there, they thought they were fighting against they were in conflict with Liberia, right? And the French came in to help. But guess what? The British and the French, the Liberians, the indigenous that sided with the French and the British, guess what? They look up and whatnot. They didn't know the 1884 had happened, right? And the Berlin Conference, right? And the Liberian government tried to tell them they're trying to take our land away from us, right? And guess what? They ended up on the under the French and the British, right? They said, "Dang," and then other people. King Massaquoi gave up half his territory and said, "Look, I want to be part of Liberia." He knows what was happening in Liberia. I want to be part of a Black Republic. And that was all about Liberia. Liberia is the only country in Africa that's conditioned to see themselves as Black, as part of a Black Republic. That's why you can never white people can never colonize Liberia. It's never been colonized. And that's a testament, right? Because the people that founded Liberia said, we're going to make a safe haven for Black people all over. And also, Liberia is a cosmopolitan country. When people say America, Liberia, they don't forget that there were people from the Caribbean that came over, people from Brazil. There were Nigerians, you know, there were South Africans, there were Black people from the UK. It was a cosmopolitan of Black civilization from all over the world. So this idea that, the indigenous people, that was something that happened in 1976 after President Tolbert spoke in the UN against Israel, right? And he said he was going to join the non-aligned movement, like we was talking on the last show. He said we're going to invite Russia, China, Libya to Liberia, right? Suddenly the CIA, they all over, like they do all over the world,
find conflict within the country. Oh, the indigenous people, they started recruiting indigenous people. Oh, you guys are oppressed. The bottom line, they wanted to get rid of that government because it was too powerful. Liberian government was so powerful, it brokered the Lancaster Agreement in Zimbabwe. It brokered the peace treaty in Namibia. It was basically settling the beef in the Congo between UNITA and MPLA and all these other people. So Liberia, despite being a small country, right, was a political powerhouse. And Nigeria, like 20 times the size, said Liberia is our leader on the continent because Liberia led Africa into independence. So when people come here and talk about, oh, the America, that's the white man's story about Liberia, because they don't see, white people never want to see a unified black people. Perfect, which is what you see in South Africa right now with the ANC and Inkatha. The white people beefed up in Inkatha, right? The Zulu freedom fighters, whatever like that. The ANC was a black power, black liberation movement. The white people in Inkatha was tribalism and all this kind of nonsense. Same thing with the PRC in Liberia. The Europeans and all these people, they always bet on they give press to these dissident movements and everything, and that's how they can destabilize any country in the world. But they couldn't do that in Cuba. Why? Because Castro had the island on lock. Liberia, unfortunately, tried to experiment. Right, the one mistake they made was this idea of freedom of speech and all this stuff like that. And that I don't believe Africa is ready for that, because there's too many charlatans and too many people that want power at all costs and everything. And at any time, the West can come in and destabilize any country under the guise of let people speak freely. And that's what Liberia's problem was. So this idea that when he said, well, there was conflict. Yeah, what was a conflict? If you're trying to end slavery, if you're trying to create law, it's like you see somebody on your block when they're throwing trash and they're making and the police come, like black, right? They say, yeah, the police always harassing us. Well, why are you riding around with your music loud when not with blunts, with marijuana coming out of your car, whatnot, and causing all kinds of ruckus? And then you wonder about, yeah, we're always getting locked up. Well, stop doing fucked up shit. You won't get locked up. Same thing with Liberia. Oh yeah, there was conflict. There was conflict because there was fuck shit going on. There was slavery. There was also child brides. You know, men would come and take a child bride. Village raiding. Do you understand that what was going on? Villages were still at war with each other. Tribes would go to raid and take all their daughters and take them to a village. They ended all that. So we said conflict is because they're trying to set up a new system of civilization. So of course there's going to be conflict. Yeah, and I'm proud of that conflict. I'm proud of what.
So you're proud of the conflict that I said existed, but you're arguing with me that there wasn't conflict, but you're saying that there was conflict. What the hell's going on here?
Of course, yes, there was conflict. It was necessary.
So what the hell have you been arguing with me about then?
No, but I'm saying, but you tried. No, you don't be slick.
I tried what? What did I try?
You tried to make it seem like they came over there and they oppressed people and they were like, no, they were.
I never said anything about black Americans oppressing indigenous people. What the hell are you talking about? I never said anything about the black Americans doing evil thing to the indigenous people. Are you high or something? What the hell are you going on about?
Well, okay, I just want to make that clear. That did not happen.
You just went on a 10-minute rant about stuff I never said.
Well, I'm not talking about just you. I'm talking about the guy who was talking before you.
No, you addressed me and you made accusations about stuff I never said. I never said black Americans were evil. I never said that they came into Liberia to do bad things to Liberians.
General statement that was made on the show. I'm just clearing that up because
who made that statement then? Because it wasn't me.
In a way, I'm not.
Oh, so you're not addressing me. You're addressing the other guy. Is that what you're saying now?
Yes.
Okay, so he's addressing you.
Yeah, hi. Kala, nice seeing you again, brother. I actually knew you when you first went to Liberia. I was following you, we were messaging on Facebook. This is Edward. Now, like I told
Edward I.V. King?
Yes.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
We meet it again, bro.
Man, come on, man.
What's up, bro?
You, man,
you love me like that,
in 12 years, man.
12 years, yeah.
God
we've known each other.
Man, your ass is still the same, man. You stop it, man.
No, 12 years now. Bro, you see, our history is complex. Let's not deceive ourselves and want to give any side some kind of accolades that they try to do this or try to do that. They each side tried to do something good, but they also had things they did that weren't right. We need to understand that complexity, because by the time we understand that complexity, we will move further ahead than we are right now.
Yeah, but
But
Edward, like, you have to admit, like we argued so many times over the years, right? There are people,
yo,
and I
yo,
know, like you know, I
wait,
know
wait, wait.
Liberians
Let me
very well.
finish, bro. Let me finish, bro. Right? Currently, right now, you know, there is a problem when African Americans believe, oh, they're the ones that are going to lead the global black community or liberate the global black community. Currently, right now in the world, right, the African continent is in a global institution with Caribbean countries, with Afro Latinos, Caribbean country with the African, Caribbean, and Pacific Islander Global Institution, Afro Latinos with the BRICS, the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South African Global Institution. That means that the only group of Black people worldwide that we are, apart from Papua New Guinea, that are at least like 40 million, right? That the African continent is not in a global institution with our African Americans. Having
Well,
said that,
well,
wait,
let me
wait,
let
wait,
me
wait,
let
wait,
me
wait,
say
wait,
this. Let me say
wait,
this,
Carl.
right?
Well,
Wait,
hold on,
wait,
let me finish,
can
Kyle.
I
I want
can
to
I
hear him.
just
I want
say
to hear him.
this?
Let him finish. Go ahead.
Can I say this right now? The African Continental Free Trade Agreement area, which is going to be the largest free trade zone in the world.
You know, Walter
Uh,
Meyer called it a joke.
can no forget about Wodemaya. He's not a government official, right? And the fact that per countries that will be participating is the largest in the world, and it will be the third largest economic
Let me
bloc in the world. Can I can
wait,
I
Edward,
can I
Edward.
land? Can I land, Carla?
Kyle, let me finish, Kyle. We
Can
chill.
I
I
land,
want to
right?
hear him. Let me finish, Kyle. Go ahead.
Can I land? After its launch on 1st of January 2021, on I think it was the 7th of September 2021, the first ever African Union and CARICOM, which is a group institution of Caribbean countries, happened the same year. So, because these are new, this African Continental Free Trade Agreement area is new, and it was the first ever they did with the AU and Caribbean countries. You can start seeing that new alignment between the global Black community is emerging, and in that, and they had several heads of states that were at the meeting between the African Union and Caribbean countries, CARICOM, but it was a virtual one, right? And they were already speaking about we need to be able to institutionalize this and meet more often. You know, they're already talking about, oh, we can't have this, we need to start having direct flights with each other and things of that nature. Why have I said this? We can dwell on what might have happened in the past, who did the right, who did the wrong in the past, but currently as we speak, and that's why I really followed you when you went to Liberia, Carla, because I knew, for all these years you had that vision and dream and you achieved it. And I told you congratulations on Facebook. But also with Dynasty and his own journey as well, I followed him as well for years as well. And I'm thinking like right now is a time where we need to start looking at our own interests as a collective and as different demographic groups. Because, yes, in Liberia, African Americans brought some level of prosperity to Liberia. But you can't at the same time say that no, they did not also create some level of, chaos as well. You have to balance these things because it's emotional. Yes, you want to be like, oh, you're the ones like bringing all these, and that's not necessarily entirely true. Both sides had things that they were doing that was great, and they had things they were doing that was wrong, and we need to accept that fact and just move forward and look at today. What are we going to be building now? Why is African Americans not in any international institution
Oh, well,
to the
let me,
rest of the global
Edward,
black community.
like I said, I
With
told
that,
you this many
I
times.
yield the mic. Thank you.
I told you this many times, right? When you talk about African American, you talk about the only industrialized people black people on the planet, right? Black people, white America got trillions of dollars tied up in black America, politically, culturally, everything, you know? Like Professor Davis said, unfortunately, we're part of America, you know, even though we may be detached and everything like that, you know? Black people hold real estate, pensions, everything, generation, continuity, everything in America, right? So therefore, black people are basically taught to be American, right? Those of us who are Pan-Africans are in the tiny minority, but it's growing, okay? Now, what I always said, I said, look, if Black America, I know for a fact, I know my people, right? If you give them another option, they will take it, right? But unfortunately, instead of Africa saying, you know something, the only group of people, black people in the world that got friggin' a tremendous wealth as far as pensions, insurance plans, and retirement plans, everything that could be trillions of dollars entering the continent, right? Instead of we courting these people when they spend $80 billion a year on travel and vacation. My brother just came off a friggin' cruise ship, and one of his wife, his friend, his in-laws, his friends went on a cruise ship. He said none but black people, you know? Black people spend more money on tourism, you know, vacation. We spend more money on hotels. We love hotels for some reason, you know? We got so much potential. We got colleges. We got colleges that got research funds. They got billions of dollars a year from the federal government that can pipeline. Do you know Nigeria ranks 8,000 in the world in college thing? Why does the HBCUs black institution on the continent doing so that we can educate our kids on the continent instead of them going to Ukraine and whatnot? These are the things. These conferences and everything mean absolutely nothing if you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. The free trade don't mean nothing if the Chinese, Lebanese, and everybody else are strategically sitting, the Indians are strategically sitting there. All they're just people showing off. And that's why it gets me angry when I say, like, because when you look at the American Liberians, I hate that term, they actually tried to make a difference. You know, they actually tried to make a difference, you know, and all these other Africans, they haven't moved the needle one bit. And I'm saying to myself, why are they make it hard for African Americans to engage the continent? You know, because the sixth region of the African Union is a joke. You know, they don't take African Americans seriously. You know, and this whole idea
Okay, all right. So that's brilliant. You say that, and there's a reason why the African continent doesn't, take, diasporan Africans, not only African Americans, seriously. And I'll tell you this, right? When African Americans always talk about China, whenever they're making their discourse, when we're having a conversation, Africans look at that as you being the mouthpiece for white supremacy.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Wait.
That's another thing.
Carla, wait.
Oh, let him finish. I want to hear. I want to hear. Go ahead.
Listen to this, right? There is something African Americans and diaspora blacks in general don't seem to understand what happened in the 2000s for the last 20 years, right? Prior to 2000, in the 20th century, when Africans had these multiple levels of chaos that was happening, there was civil wars happening, their debts from IMF and World Bank had now matured, and they were told structural adjustment program, they had to cut all the social amenities programs. They were stuck, and they were saying, hey, but we need to do this and that. The Western powers told them that they can't do that. When they were looking for fundings for projects, they told them they can't fund those projects. They have to finance their debts. In 2000, China comes in. So that means majority of the infrastructure projects were dilapidating, right? In 2000, China comes in. Prior to 2000, African countries were talking about, hey, they needed to get telecommunications, GSM, they wanted satellites as well. They couldn't. Western, financial institutions were like, nope, you can't fund that. You have to finance these debt. 2000 comes, China comes into the African market and tells them, hey, you know what? We can do shipyards for you. We can do airports for
but
you.
Edward, here's the thing.
Can I finish?
You're very long-winded. You
Can
gotta
I,
come on.
Carla, can I just finish? Because I
Yeah,
haven't even done
make
a
your
minute
point. I
yet.
gotta address that.
Hold
I
on,
haven't
hold
even
on, but
done a
Carla, I
minute
want to
yet.
hear Carla. Y'all both long with it. You, him, Brandon, y'all all long with it. But go ahead. I want to hear. I want to hear.
Dynasty,
Go ahead.
why are you picking on me now? But anyways,
I want to hear this.
yeah. So now listen to this, right? In the last 20 years, the level of infrastructure development on the African continent, the level of technology that had been implemented on the African continent had not been done for the last, say, 50 years.
Can I address that?
Now, pardon?
Can I address that, Edwin? Check us out.
Now, wait, Carla. I want to
you keep
land.
going
Wait,
on, man. Let me
Carla,
address that point.
Carla, before you address it, before you even address the point, right? Carla, and also the debt profile of the African continent and African countries, the debt profile the African continent has to the world, right? China is less than 10%. When you're looking at
Edwin,
have I landed? Carla, can I just land? When I land, I'll tell you now. So now you're looking at 20 years of rapid development.
Oh yeah, I know that, but the head
wait, can I land? Wait, Carla, can you let me just land and then you?
Edwin, you gotta let somebody else talk, man. Check us out. The problem
I was just landing.
Hold on. Okay, here we go. Ed, you got 45 seconds there. 45 seconds.
Okay. So in 20 years, the level of leapfrogging of infrastructure development and technological transfer in 20 years with less than 10% debt of African countries to China compared to the rest of the debt they have with the rest of the world, the Western world. You can't say breaking that monopoly that was in place prior to 2000 was a great changer for the African continent. And that's the point that African Americans don't understand, that you have to break your monopoly. You can't keep all your eggs in one basket, especially in the Western world. And that's what the African continent has been able to achieve in the last 20 years.
Edwin,
All right, Edward. Okay, go ahead, Colin. Go ahead, Colin.
Okay, I agree. I agree in principle that African countries need a development like partner like China. You have no argument with me on that. China did a lot of great things. It's not China. It's not the West, right? Unfortunately, it all comes back to Black people, not just Africans, Black America, everything. Black people worldwide. We're like children. The world, and like I said, one day we're going to do a show on this, right, Danny's right? Why are Black people in the African world is still the world's children? Here's the difference, right? There's what they call capital outflow. Despite all the investments and everything in Africa, right? We still haven't trained a generation of engineers and logistics people who could build the stuff when the Chinese leave. So that means basically you're inviting the Chinese people to settle on the continent, which is happening all over the continent. You got Chinese communities all over the continent. That's not good. Okay, another race. Okay, look at what I played this on Bomani show, the Pong Lloyd Group, right? Google the Pong Lloyd Group, right? They're a logistics infrastructure group that's based in Singapore and throughout Southeast Asia. They build everything from stadiums. They build everything from monorails, subway systems, ports, everything, right? In Dubai, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, Australia, all over Asia, all Southeast Asian countries. Now, just a generation ago, these were dirt poor, uneducated people from India, Southeast Asia, and everything like that, right? Had no infrastructure. In the decades since the Bandung Conference, right, the Pong Lloyd Group emerged the largest infrastructure group in the world, world-class infrastructure around the world that competes, blows the West out there. They could build extension bridges, everything. I'm saying to myself, why between Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, and everything like that, why don't we have a multinational corporation that could build Africa's projects with Chinese funding? Why are we, if we get Chinese funding, why the heck do we have to have the Chinese ability? Why do we have the technology and everything like that? Why are our African kids our Nigerians and Kenyans and all these people in Ukraine and Europe for decades. I heard that one Nigerian guy talking about, I'm a German now. I'm a German now. And another thing I want to ask this question, right? People always talk about African culture, right? And I love African culture and I love it to death, right? But one thing I don't seem to understand is this, right? If African culture is so great, why is it that one generation is almost lost when they leave Africa? But yet Chinese can go to any country in the world. Vietnamese, and their culture will stay the same. You got Chinese that live in America for 100 years, can't speak English. They're in the Chinese world. They don't know nothing about it. Same thing with the Hasidic Jews, right? They completely, what is it about African culture, right, that we can't maintain that outside of Africa? But yet we want to talk about, Africa assimilate to African culture. But yet when you come to the West, you're completely Westernized. You're completely a British. You're completely a French. You're completely German. And you're completely Russian or Ukraine. I'm Ukraine now. I got a Ukrainian wife and whatnot. What, are you kidding me? So you're going to bring your Ukrainian wife back to Nigeria one day and whatnot? This is what I'm talking about. And so when we talk about China and development, I'm not impressed. When I see Africans right there building those railways and everything and manning those things, and we have something like the African version of the Pungloy group, infrastructure group, and everything like that on the continent, then you talk to me. And when Africa has a positive capital outflow or not, when they're lending capital, African banks should be lending black people in America banks. They should be sending black banks in the inner cities in America saying, hey, look, how can we trade and development together? But there's nothing coming out of Africa. Africa is in debt. Africa loses $100 billion a year in net capital outflow. There's nothing there. So let's not talk about what China's doing. Yeah, you got infrastructure, but are we maintaining it? Are we taught how to build it ourselves? Do we got to call the Chinese back in 10 years to rebuild it? That's what we need to talk about. And so, but what I'm saying is the American Liberians, I hate using the term, they had a different mindset. We're going to build Africa. We're going to do it ourselves. We don't need to be colonized by white people. We don't need the Europeans. But for that, they hated. That's all they were trying to do.
Wasn't Liberia run by the Americans though?
No, it was
controlled. It was indirectly controlled by
America.
America.
Never run by the Americans.
Yes, and Larry, just let that rest for now. Can I respond to Caleb? Caleb, breaking the monopoly when you have decades of actual economic hitmen getting at you and making you cut down.
How is it that only
listen, right? When you're breaking a monopoly, right, the first stages you have to do is, hey, can you help? Yes, I can help do this. These infrastructures you are talking about that is being built on the African continent, have you seen videos of them being built? What do you notice? You notice it's Africans that are building the infrastructure.
No, African laborers, the people on
Guess what? Listen to this.
They'll
right?
have African
listen to this, right? Listen to this part of the story, right? Who will know how to rebuild it? The engineer or the laborers? When you're looking at it from hindsight, the people who actually did the work or the engineer who designed how it should be put together? It will be the people who did the work, right? And if you notice, right, when it came in the 2000s, it was debt relief that the African continent got. And one of it was, hey, we will actually give you loans. Yes, the loans were shark loans, whatever the case may be, right? But like I said earlier on, the African continent's debt to China is less than 10% compared to its debt to the rest of the Western world, right? And what you have seen here is the laborers that were used were Africans themselves. First things first is to be able to break the monopoly. That's the first stage. That's the 20 years that has gone. Now, the African continent has done the African Continental Free Trade Agreement area. That means that now the African continent is talking about inter-country trade, breaking down the barriers, having one skyline where it will be only one passport an African would need to travel across the African continent. That just happened January last year, 2021. It will take time. It could take 10 more years before it becomes something that everybody's benefiting from on the African continent. You guys need to understand that it's short
Do
term.
you,
Wait,
Edward, do you really believe?
Kala,
You really believe?
Can I just
Hold
land
on,
this point?
hold on. Here we go. Hold on, Kyle. Let me finish, and then America First Rifleman. He's been patiently waiting. So, yeah, you got one more minute. Let me pass it to him. Go ahead, Ed.
All right. So now, right, you need to understand when it comes to policies of 54 countries, right? You need to understand there are short-term, midterm, and long-term goals. The short term has been the 20 years. I know that looks like a long time as an individual, but when it comes to countries, that's how it works. The midterm now is now they have now established this after 20 years, have established that, hey, this is the next policy till 2063. So that's going to emerge where you're now going to start seeing. And in Nigeria, there's a lot of engineering done by Nigerians already. And absolutely, you can look at the Dangote Group has investments across different African countries already. So there's going to be more of that is going to emerge in the coming decades. With that, I yield the mic. Thank you.
Okay, and I love Aliko Dangote, bro. Let's be honest.
Hold on, Kyle. Let America First Rifleman go. Go ahead,
Okay.
America First Rifleman.
All right, I'll keep I'll keep it short because I just have a couple of questions for Kala and like one for Eddie. I would because I'm trying to learn a lot more about the continent, so I'm trying to get some good reading material. And so this one's the Eddie. Can you recommend a book or something I can read about how the Western countries were telling Africa to stop these certain projects and everything on the continent? Do you have like a book or anything to reference that I could like read about that?
Have you read Walter Rooney's book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa?
No. Say the name one more time.
Walter Rooney.
Rodney.
Walter Rooney.
Ronnie.
Walter Ronnie. Okay.
I mean, bro, that's history.
Wait. I'll put it in the private chat for you so you can see.
All right. Thank you for that. That's the only question I have for you, Eddie.
Okay.
And then, okay. Well, and then the one I have for Kala, can you recommend me two books? One
Liberia?
one for Liberia and one for like West Africa in general.
Okay, there's several West African books. One about this family called this husband and wife doctor team called West African Kingdoms. I think the last name was McKinnick. That was a good one. That really opened my eyes. I still got that book to this day. I had that book since '93. The best one, Liberia, right?
West African Kingdoms. That's the name of it.
The West African Kingdoms.
Okay.
You could Google it. It'll pop right up on Google. West African Kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Liberia. The best book on Liberia was published in 1953 by a man named R. Earl Anderson. It's called Liberia, America's Africa Friend. That right there is the best book ever written on Liberia, right? It was unbiased and everything. It was basically because at the time, the world was basically trying to destroy this whole thing called Liberia, right? Because Liberia it talked about the Fernando Po incident. It talked about how the British were trying to colonize. Like, do you know that the British actually were trying to give the most backward state in Europe was Poland, right? They wanted to give Liberia, a country that was way more advanced than Poland to colonize. They were working the Kru tribe and the Krus and the Kru tribe and the Creoles in Sierra Leone were working as agents of the British Empire, right? To discredit Liberia because they wanted to make Liberia part of Sierra Leone. Liberia stood the test of time. The fact that country emerged after World War II as an independent country, right? It was able to build its own infrastructure, was the pride of the whole entire African continent. So don't believe the kid Grebo in the chat room and everything. Because he won't embrace his country as Liberia. He's still holding on to his tribe. That's the problem, the backwardness. It's like somebody, it's like, what tribe is? A tribe is nothing but a glorified gang. That's all it is. It's retrograde and it's backwards and everything. When people go, I'm a Gribbo man, and all this stuff like that, and they can't see the picture. Not only can they embrace Liberia as a nationality, they can't embrace the human family. because nationality is how we embrace the human family. People say, I'm an American, you know, I'm a Japanese and everything, but I'm part of the human family. This is my story in the human family, right? I'm part of society. Just like if you live in the state of Georgia, you're part of the city of Georgia, you know, and you're part of the society you live in, whatever state you live in, whatnot. You know, Brandon talks fondly of California, good and bad. I'm part of California. This is where I'm from. This is where I live. This is where I was born. Okay. Then you basically you look at the other people. Okay, this is what you're part. This is what you are. This is what I am. But when you basically just you don't know anything about your surroundings, and you no matter where you are, you could be on the moon, and you're just I'm a gribbo. I'm a gribbo. Well, what about the rest of humanity? What about somebody who's not gribbo? What about your other tribe? So the bottom line, when people start grouping themselves by tribalism, they don't want to advance as far as civilization. They don't want to get along. All they want to do is disrupt because to do so takes hard work. And to do so means giving something up. When our ancestors went to Liberia, they had to give up a lot of stuff. These are people don't talk about. They came over there. No, they had to give up a lot of things they knew in America. They embrace a lot of Africa. When you look at the culture of Liberia, right, it's a hybrid of indigenous culture and African American culture. So they gave up a lot, and they gained a lot from the local surroundings, and they brought a lot to the country. Literacy, you know, they brought their religion, they brought their way of custom of doing things, the system of town hall, homesteads, all those things, property lines, all the things that they knew in the West, and when that was good, they kept. All the bad things and everything. Like things that that they had in America was colorism. Colorism was rampant in Black America. It did not exist in Liberia. There's no evidence of that. There was indigenous people and the American people that married each other from day one on all sides and whatnot. You know, it was like a hybrid of cultures and everything. So the bottom line, this idea of this people, when people try to discredit Liberia, what they're trying to do is try to say that Black people fundamentally can't get along. There's always going to be conflict. There's probably people say, "Oh, there's Igbos getting hunted in northern Nigeria." Yeah, but Igbos have been in northern Nigeria for decades now, getting along, doing business and everything with their Hausa brothers. But you only want to focus on a couple of incidents and say, "Oh, look, see, look at that." But when white people, when something goes on in Europe, they see, it's just a little thing. You know, we're still white.
What was the name of that book again? Liberia, Africa Friend.
Liberia, America's Africa Friend.
Okay, American Africa.
By R.L. Anderson.
R.L. Anderson. Okay.
It's on Barnes and Nobles. You gotta get on Barnes and Nobles.
Okay, and
it's
also
like $50-something, well worth it.
Also, you need to start live streaming, Colin. Come on now.
Yeah, this is my live stream. See, but if I do live stream, then I'm gonna have all these people coming at me, man. I'm gonna. I like using Dynasty and Brandon's platform, man, because they do like I thought about it the other night, you know, just doing the live stream, but nothing like it's gonna be permanent on like that. I might go live once in a while and be like, hey, look, you know, once a month or like that, but I can't. I don't want to be known as a YouTuber, you know.
I got you. I thank you, Kala. Thank you, Dynasty. That was my question. I'm gonna have to drop you another donation, Dynasty, but thank you.
You're on
you're
mute,
muted. You're muted.
But yeah, stay on. Don't leave yet, because this is really a two-topic show.
Okay.
But I'm gonna let Larry speak, and then I'm gonna bring it back to you because I want to kind of update on what your thoughts are on Ukraine and Russia, what's going on.
Okay.
But Larry, go ahead, brother.
I was going to ask you two things, Dynasty. Do you, because of the question you asked today, do you believe that Liberia is reparations for Black Americans? Because I've never heard that, so I was really interested by the question you asked. Do you believe that is that?
I would say it's a form, because at the end of the day, the issues that Black America are having, you give us $100 billion, we stay here in America, they're still going to complain about it. So, you know, I think if the intent of Black America, once they get reparations, not to build a nation of their own, then I just see this so-called reparations just I don't want to say welfare, but you know, it's just it's a gift. It's a gift, I guess. But you know, I think at the end of the day, not building a nation of our own, you know, in America giving us these reparations, all we're gonna do is give it right back and then complain for another 400 years. So it just kind of thinks that I just kind of think that Liberia was probably the best solution But what's your thought, Colin?
Exactly.
Before we go there, I just wanted to give my opinion on the second thing you asked, Russia and Ukraine. I don't really care what the Slavic people do. That's between themselves. But in regards to that question, Ukraine had every right to fight back. They want to have independence, and the Russians want to take that independence. So that's the way I see it.
Okay, go ahead, Colin.
Yeah. I agree. Craig Gribbo keeps saying America like, but first there was no such people called America like. He's probably he's Craig Gribbo. I bet you any amount of money he never spent any time in Liberia or whatever like that. So he regurgitates stories he heard. And another thing about what we have to take into heart in African culture, right? African, West African, not just the Sahel region is different than the tropical Africa. Tropical Africa, that region right here, don't have a history of literature. So things are passed through oral. And I learned over the years that the oral story changes over whoever's telling it, right? When something's written by scholars and everything, it stands the test of time. So when people say, "Oh, American Liberians were there," that's something he heard. American Liberians were like apartheid South Africa. Now, anybody who studied Liberia one night that knows that was nothing to true. The so-called American Liberians never killed millions of native like they did in the Congo and Zimbabwe and Kenya and South Africa. They never did that. There was never any really wars between the two. The two groups of people met. They looked at each other's civilization way of doing things, and the better civilization prevailed. Right? The Gribbos said, "You know something," and the Gribbos, this guy, if he understands something, right? The Gribbos were more English than the so-called Americans because they spoke English by the time they got there. Read this book On African Shores, King Friedman. This guy was a chief of the Gribbos one night. He knew English, right? He studied in London. He was there before the American Liberians got there. He already knew how the British operated and everything. He said the British had the best way of doing things. He smoked the pipe and everything. So this idea that the elite and the Gribbos were more Anglified than the American Liberians. If you knew your history, you would know that. That's why when you go to Maryland County, Liberia, they're like, "Oh, they don't say America." They say our people from Maryland. They'll say our people from Maryland. Oh yeah, ancestors from Maryland. They embrace both sides of their ancestry. They say, yeah, they built this. So my ancestors, but they don't separate the two. That's another thing about Liberia. In Liberia 2022, the Liberians now embrace they say our ancestors from America. They don't say America Liberia. They say our ancestors from America. That's why the country's healing and is unifying right now. And Liberia is going to be a testament to Pan-African in the future. So when people like the kid Gribbo, he sits in America, he's bitter, right? He's not doing nothing with his life and everything. Instead of him getting on a plane, going to Liberia and building and learning how to love himself and love his country and understand that he needs to be blessed the fact that he was part of this experiment called Liberia and be proud of that, the Lone Star State, instead of that. And yes, Liberia is reparations and whatnot. If the bottom line is this, we as black people in America, we thought the white man's land was colder. We don't understand the Liberian mind. Like I said in my novel, I don't have my camera on. I was gonna show my novel. My novel, Journey to the Promised Land. I said the Liberian mind was something superior than the African American mind. I believe that. After the Liberian mind had it had a world view of independence. The African American mind has a world of dependence. We still we still vote for the Democratic Party. We still have white people making decisions for us. Where the Liberians basically, not only were they making decisions for themselves, they will also start to look at the continent, how they could be a hand in brokering peace on the continent. Liberia really wanted to take over the administration and govern the whole Congo. Do you know that? People don't even know that history. Liberia wanted to be the mandate that they could run and occupy the Congo, the whole entire Congo, post World War II. Then, they had Patrice Lumumba and everything. That's how confident it was governing the continent. So you had a black state that was just as strong politically as the European colonial powers. If you call it black colonization, hey, call it what it is. I'd rather have black colonization than white colonization, than Chinese colonization. So pick your poison.
And this black state was completely free of any form of control by the Europeans. This black state, you're saying that Liberia was completely free of any control
Exactly, it
by the
was.
Americans and the British.
Exactly, yes, I'm saying that, and I could prove
That's
it.
a big claim to make.
And I could prove it. And a lot of people don't really understand that. Nnamdi Azikiwe, the first president of Nigeria, right? He said, "Man, this is remarkable. A black sovereign state. Liberia had no European troops in this country, its administration, and everything. However, during the President Howard, right, as our sister Kyle said, like the British tried to take it over. You know how they tried to take it over? By friggin' stupid people from the Caribbean, right? Who basically didn't understand that the British was the enemy, right? The British recruited Liberians, like when they were battling on the Galenas, right? Some troops were loyal to British, some people were loyal to Liberia, right? The loyalists to British, right, snuck into the ranks of the Liberian army, right, and tried to take over the country. But that was found out, and they were expelled and were not punished, whatever. The bottom line is the Liberia never had any sort of European or any sort of outside influence and everything. They said from day one, we could do this. And they told other African countries, they talked to Mandela. They say, you don't need Europeans governing. We have a favorable balance of trade. We control, we have a receivership for our ships. Everything that functions, we have a modern postal system. And when Africans came there, they saw a functioning African state running by itself and everything. And all these places, they said, wow, you guys got your postal system shipping throughout the world. Liberia had a global fleet of ships and everything. They're like, wow, you guys are freaking, you got colleges built, you got universities, you got all this stuff, like institutions. And you're like, well, I guess we can govern ourselves. We don't have to bring Europeans to govern us. Because before that time, right, there was no republics on the African continent. Everything was kingdoms, And so they said, okay, we're just a kingdom. We don't know anything about the idea of a republic or a constitution or rule of law. Then you got this one country on the continent that people look like us, and they're doing it. And that's what gave the independence movement in Africa. Had it not been that, right, like Africa independence movement would have been happening in the 80s instead of the 40s. And that's the truth. You have to give the credit where credit is due.
Okay. All right. America's first rifleman. Go ahead. Russia, Ukraine. What's going on?
There was just a city that was close to the Donbass that was just taken over. It's Severodonetsk. And it's one of the bigger cities over there. And Ukraine just got their butt whooped and they ran, and Russia is able to grind them down slowly but surely. And the propaganda is still strong. Western propaganda is still strong, saying, Ukraine's doing a counterattack, but then they're saying we need to give it more. So,
but let me ask you, why is this Western propaganda so strong? Because it's just when you really see what's going on the ground, like Russia is just, I mean, Zelensky needs to just wave the white flag, but then you got guys like Biden who are trying to bolster the Ukraine, and it's not working.
Well, it's really just a money game because that 40 billion that's getting sent over, quite a bit of it's for like recouping costs for like training and other stuff. So it's really just a whole bunch of people in America, and then like elites in Ukraine are going to get paid. So they keep trying to sell this to the American people. And that's really all it's about. People are trying to do their exit strategy because even the mainstream media in America that's been pushing like Ukraine's going to win, they're trying to slowly but surely introduce that Ukraine's probably going to lose. So like I said, like government officials in Ukraine and people like that are going to skim off the top of the 40 billion and then run off to Poland, Italy, Spain, and their big, mansions paid for by the American taxpayer. So that's and the propaganda as well. Like I guess the Russian propaganda, it tells a bit more of the truth. Obviously, it downplays the casualties and it downplays certain, I guess, like certain losses they've had. But the main point is Russia has the initiative. Like they're able to, like I said, grind down Ukrainian forces, and also they're not going for these big places like Kharkiv and all these places. Like they've quit on that. They're just trying to secure the eastern part of the country.
So since they're trying to secure the eastern part of the country, let's say they get Ukraine. Why will they stop at Ukraine, since they want to secure the eastern half and maybe recreate the old Soviet Union, so they can then move on to another Eastern European country if they have Ukraine? Why stop there?
No, well, see, this is the thing about it. That's a misconception, and I think that's kind of Western propaganda saying that they want to keep going west or whatever. It's really just a response to really what NATO's done in the last 20 years. I mean, that's literally what this is about. They want to and then this is what Russia says, they want to protect native Russian speakers or Russians in that part of the country, because you got to remember the east part of the country, they have more of an affinity for Russia. The further west you go, then yeah, they're more quote unquote European, or they like the EU and stuff like that, which is not a problem. But you got to remember, like everything Ukraine has done since 2014 has to antagonize this outcome. Like if they would have just tried to stay neutral, the biggest one is if they just would have stayed neutral, that they would have been fine. Like Russia probably would have never taken Crimea, and we wouldn't be where we are today. But there are corrupt elements in Ukraine that thought if we go more Western and we take their weapons, we take this, take that, we're going to be able to keep control, and that's it. The thing about it is, like, Russia is more worried about the Baltic states going like the Baltic republics and stuff. They're more worried about them because those are like really nice strategic places or whatever. But the main fact remains, they want to secure the eastern part of the country. Think about it, like we've seen their military struggle too in Ukraine, so they don't have the capabilities to take over Poland, take over the Baltic states, take over
Russia doesn't have the capabilities. Is that what you're saying? They don't have the capabilities?
No, they don't. And they don't. The thing about it, they don't want to. That's another thing. Like they don't want to. They don't have a want to do that.
Well, that's a big claim. None of us know what's in Putin's mind, or what the documentation with FSB is like. But let's stick to the main facts. We can talk about what governments want to do in the boardroom, but what about ordinary people? Over 3 million, supposedly 3 million Ukrainians have left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is to happen to all those Ukrainians in the West who do not wish to be part of Russia?
And they just go to the western part. Like right now, they're trying to try to dissolve the border with Poland and give them a lot of special status, because they know the eastern part of the country is done. Like Ukraine probably won't exist in another 10 years. So,
and is that Ukraine, a good thing?
It doesn't really matter. I don't care. Like my thing is my sympathy.
Can I say something about that?
Let me say something real quick, and I'll shut up. My biggest thing, like my sympathy to Ukraine went out the window 8 years ago when they kept bombing Donetsk and they kept bombing the breakaway republics and having these Nazi criminals, conduct a war against civilians. That's when I'm just like, y'all asking for it. The Russians taking Crimea should have been a wake-up call for them to like chill out and slow down, but they let the Western powers get in their heads, and that's where we're at today. And you got to remember, like Zelensky, and this is my last point, Zelensky actually wanted to make peace with the eastern part of the country when he first became the president, and then when he went and talked to the right-wing battalions on the eastern part of the country, and he's like, hey, let's make peace. They were like, if you give up 1 foot, we will kill your Jew ass. They literally threatened to kill the president. They said, 1 step back, we will kill you. So, like, where do you go? Like, Ukraine just has itself in a messed up situation, and they're screwed.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that you said. I was going to call up here, but you pretty much hit a lot of the points I was going to make. This is Ukraine's fault. A lot of it is. And they've made poor decisions, elected poor leaders, and they elected an actor to be their leader and allowed him to be have a battery put in his back by the United States and try to do things that we in our history have proven we would not accept, not 1 minute of. Okay, we had the Bay of Pigs for the same reason they're doing this. We invaded Grenada under similar circumstances as this. We just flat out invaded places and took it over. So when Americans sit around and act like they're so surprised that something this would happen, if the situation were reversed, we would find it unacceptable that somebody on our border would be running around and creating chemical weapons, be doing all kinds of things. And they denied that they were doing the chemical weapons until they had to tell the truth in front of Congress. Then they came out there and said, well, yeah, we were developing those weapons. Well, of course you were. All the Ukraine had to do was stay neutral. If they stay neutral, stay out of NATO, they still have a country. Now they will not have a country, and they have an actor who is an American operative leading them down this ridiculous path. And so I don't feel very much sorry for them at all in terms of their leadership. I feel sorry for the women and children, but in terms of their so-called leadership, your leadership pretty much consists of an actor and two boxers, in Ukraine.
And also everybody has to remember, Zelensky was put up there by a oligarch, Zelensky, who he's a Cypriot or the Cypriot and an Israeli dual citizen, and a Ukraine, actually he's a triple citizen, to where he had a media company called 1+1 Media. You can look this up, 1+1 Media, where he made the show Servant of the People, or he and Zelensky was in that. And then after they were done with the show was a hit in Ukraine for whatever reason. It's just EU, NATO propaganda. That's all it really was. And so after that, people were disaffected. A lot of people around the world are disaffected with their current leaders. So they made the Servant of the People party that Kolomoisky, the oligarch, bankrolled, and then people fell for it. People fell for the entertainment, and they elected him. So it's really the oligarchs that are running Zelensky, and also the American, military industrial complex. And you got this situation.
Absolutely.
Larry, did that answer your question?
I mean, the stuff that they're saying, I know about that stuff. That's not what I'm really making. My point is, the point is we now have a situation. It's clearly obvious that there are people, Ukrainians, who don't want to be under the thumb of Russia. They want to be independent.
They're leaving. They're going into the western part of the country. It's that simple.
That's not what's happening. We've got a situation where I think it's like 3 million have literally left their homeland. They've now gone to parts of Western Europe to make a living. Now, maybe that's acceptable to you. I don't know. The point is, this war is still going on. It doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. We don't know what's happening behind the scenes, what other Europeans are doing. It might end up like another Vietnam or proxy war, where it'll just drag on and on and on. The two countries won't directly fight each other, America and Russia, but they'll be funding people to fight on behalf of them. So we're just going to see chaos. And I'm saying, is there a possibility that this could create a domino effect in that eastern part? That's all I'm thinking.
It's really not. It's not. It's going to stop there, because you got to remember, this is another frozen conflict, just like when it happened in 2014, when the foolishness started over there. They purposely made it drag on to where they couldn't just say, okay, we're going to respond and like blow up Russia or do something. They just drug it on. And that's what's happening now, to where they're going to drag it on to where no Western powers can directly get their militaries involved, to where the eastern part of the country, we don't know where that line's going to stop. If people are saying the Dnieper River, or maybe before that, that's where Russia's going to draw their ethnic Russian line and say anything past here it belongs to Russia. Everything else, the EU can have. And I think that's what's going to happen over the next few years. And the thing about it is, anybody that's not on the program with Russia, they're running as fast as they can west, and people who are, which is a lot of people, they're staying put, or they're going into the breakaway republics. Nobody's saying it's right, or people should have to make that decision, but that's it. That's the reality. That's you have to go where you're wanted, or where you feel wanted. So
that's basically it then. So Russia will take over the whole of Ukraine, let's just say, and those who don't like it need to shut up, grin and bear it, because that's the new order, basically.
No, they will not take over all of Ukraine. They're going to take what they already have. They're going to take the whole Donbass region, and then they're going to take Crimea in the south, and the ports, because they want the port down there by the Black Sea. That's what they want.
But they already have that, though.
Right.
Here,
But and I agree with you. But the problem is you have the actor president in there saying that he's not going to give up anything and he wants them all out of everything. And it's completely unrealistic and crazy. And so again, it is Ukrainians and Zelensky who is dragging this thing on for no reason at all. All the Russians already came out and publicly said what they want. They said they wanted the port. They said they wanted Crimea. They said they wanted the Donbass region. All parts of the country they already control and have. And in terms of the Donbass region, most of those people are Russian anyway, and speak Russian anyway. They don't want to be part of Ukraine. So all he'd have to do is give that up, and he could have a country again. But because he has the United States in his ear, and this whole dream of being part of NATO, he's pushing something even in this ridiculous circumstance he's in, and pushing something that's not possible, fighting a war he cannot win. And it's absurd that we've done that. But America, like Professor Mearsheimer said, America is willing to fight to the last Ukrainian. Basically, we're not sending anybody over there, right? But we'll fight till the last Ukrainian is gone in terms of funding them. And that's not fair and that's not right. And it's something that this country has done to them, as far as I'm concerned.
So America has blood on its hands, in your opinion. The government, American government.
What Western country doesn't have blood on its hands? It's like what water's wet, the sky's blue. I mean, come on now. This is like this. It's Game of Thrones, man. It's always been that way. This is nothing new. Especially, I don't know. You sound like you're a Brit or something. I don't know where you're from, so forgive me. But it's just like it's always been that way. You know, the little people are always going to be cannon fodder. And
exactly.
The big powers are going to make their big power moves. So I feel you.
I don't dispute what you're saying. So then from what you're saying, we can then come to the conclusion, which I'm assuming we all agree, that the Russians and the West are both guilty of creating this situation.
Well, yeah,
like
because
that, have you studied history for the last 1,000 years, man? It's always
Kyle, let me hear America first right from it. I want to.
You have to remember, this all started before, because the Ukrainian people never really had a chance to choose because they're not on the world stage like that. They had two choices: either go further west to the EU or stay with the Eastern Bloc economic blocks or whatever. And the Ukrainian people never had a real choice. You got to remember, when 2014 popped off, that was bankrolled, like these color revolutions, that was bankrolled by the West and the EU. So it's not like it was 100%. It was astroturf. It wasn't 100% organic. I could see if it was like there was it was that it was 100% organic, and the people really did want to join the EU, and then people in like Donetsk or the LPR, DPR, and they were like, we want to join the EU too. You can't hide that. But unfortunately, all that stuff was astroturf, and people came out the woodwork that wanted to benefit or just make a new society. They came out like the fucking Azov Nazis and people like that. So that's the biggest lesson here, is that there was a fundamental fight between the East and the West to gain control of Ukraine and its resources. That's it.
Right. And that's 100% correct. And I encourage anybody who wants to know anything about this. Professor John Mearsheimer talked about this in 2014 and pretty much predicted everything that was going to happen back then that has happened. He's from the University of Chicago. He pretty much told everybody that everything that's happening now was going to happen back then. And so basically, if you want to know more about this, I would say go back to that 2014 lecture where he talked about how the United States was going to fight a proxy war with Russia over to Ukraine, and Ukraine was going to get crushed. This is not new. This was very predictable. And again, in the case of the United States, if this was a similar situation with us, like when we had the Cuban Missile Crisis and we had people 90 miles off our border doing this, we would react the exact same way, and we did.
Well, we almost had a nuclear war with Russia, back when the Russians put ballistic missiles in like Cuba, and it was I think they made a movie like 13 Days where within a 13-day period it could have been a nuclear war in the whole world. The Russians finally backed down, but you got to remember that was the last time a adversary like China or Russia or since like Japan attacked us in World War II, but anybody even had the balls to put any ballistic or ICBMs in the Western Hemisphere. Okay,
not necessarily true.
know.
Not necessarily true. Not necessarily true. The United States invaded Grenada in '83 for that reason. They built the Cubans and the Russians showed up in Grenada, built an airfield, and they were in the process of building stuff there. And we responded by invading Grenada.
That's true. That's very true. Thank you for reminding me of that.
So basically, to end the war, if Zelensky wanted to, he would have to agree that the land that Russia has taken remains with Russia, and pull Ukraine out of NATO.
Basically, he would have to sign an agreement saying he would never be part of NATO ever, number one, which is one of their conditions. And he would have to concede Crimea, officially part of Russia, and then including the port down there by the Black Sea. And then he would have to say that the Donbass region is an autonomous region, which basically would concede it to Russia anyway. If he does that, they would pull out tomorrow.
Go ahead, Colin. Go ahead, Colin, real quick.
Well, yeah, I just think that if you look at what the situation in Ukraine is, this right, this guy, the president, was an actor or something like that, right? Hillary Clinton was saber rattling against Putin. Remember that? And then you had the situation in Libya. Putin saying that's not going to happen with me. And so what America has never happened. What's never happened in America is we've never felt ourselves in danger, like a danger. And Russia saying, if I'm a superpower, why would in the world would I tolerate this country? America would never tolerate Cuba. Why do you think all countries in Latin America are poor? Because America doesn't tolerate any sort of provocation. It's a Monroe Doctrine all over again. America doesn't tolerate any sort of provocation in this hemisphere, right? Whatsoever, economic, military, social. That's why these countries in South America, Central America, and the Caribbean are poor. That's America, right? Russia, for you look at it, like, I mean, the Eastern European countries are rising and everything like that, you know, economically and stuff like that. And you got China right there and stuff like that. Russia has competition on this board. One thing is not going to, the line in the sand is Ukraine. If you have a country like Ukraine who's testing chemical weapons, right, is a global leader of the neo-Nazi movement, right? Putin went to, in 2014, I believe it was, right? And they signed a thing in the UN, proposal in the UN to ban, to denounce Nazism and xenophobia and stuff like that. The two countries in the world that abstained from this was Russia, the United States and Ukraine. Putin was, I don't know if Putin was doing this politically because he wanted to invade, because of Crimea, he wanted to invade Crimea, but he made a point. He said, look, Ukraine is a bastion of global neo-Nazism, right? He says Ukraine has neo-Nazis, and not just neo-Nazis, I mean the really hardcore genocidal neo-Nazis. These guys, don't underestimate these guys. These guys are operating in South Africa. They're operating in countries like Angola, Mashaki, Namibia. They got a country, Australia. They're in Africa. Trust me. And I'm waiting to hear the fact that from reports that they might even be in West Africa. You know, these global neo-Nazis and everything, they're growing. Same thing. You got terrorists, you got Al Qaeda and everything. You got these global white supremacy neo-Nazis, and Ukraine has been like a base for them.
Hey, and remember, not to cut you off, Colin, remember that piece of crap in Buffalo shooter had an affinity for the Azov battalion in Ukraine.
Exactly. And so when I hear Negroes, particularly our African immigrant brothers, cry for Ukraine, I'm like, Negro, what? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I see, this is what I'm, and about my brother, great African, I love him to death, right? Right for laughing. I love him to death, right? But our African brothers, man, I love you. I love you to death. I don't feel like this. But y'all niggas gonna get us killed. Y'all have no idea about the world y'all live in. Oh, everything's fine. Yeah, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You don't understand the stuff that's going on in the world. When all you care about is the fact that you can use running water for the first time in your life. When everything's great. You know, no slightest. But the bottom line is we cannot go by that. We understand it. We understand the neo-Nazi threat. We understand the threat by the far left. All these things like that do nothing for us because we don't need any of these people. African American, Black American, or not, we're strong if we basically start thinking strong, right? We start thinking strong. Now, as far as like Russia and Ukraine and everything, that's not our fight. I don't want to see one Black person, and then we do got Africans going over there saying they want to fight for Ukraine, dying. You know, I don't know what that's all about. You know, they had to pay for their own way over there, right, to go out and die in the battlefield. And then you got what you call it, Zimbabweans, right, that had to flee Ukraine, got return tickets. You know, flight tickets. They want to go back. Like I said, this ass backwards stuff got to stop. You know, we have to stop worshiping white lands and white places and everything and build Africa. And until that happens, I don't want to hear nothing about, the African free trade zone. Long as we keep staying in the West and we send our best, our students, our best and brightest and live in these hellhole European countries instead of building Africa, nothing's going to change.
I'm waiting for like the gas queen in like Nigeria. You know, I forgot her name, but she's like one of the richest Africans on the planet. Like, started engineering school, girl. Like, come on, you got some disposable income,
right? That's what I don't understand. Let me ask you a question, right? You got Nigerians who claim they got billions, right? But yet they got to go to European. Why don't you fund your own university? You could basically, that's a big business. Universities. Why are you sending your best and bright? Not only when you go overseas, you're helping their universities, right? But if you spend your years in a foreign country, you're spending money there. You're buying hotel room and lodging. Wouldn't it be better if you built your own college towns and cities in Africa and everything, where we could keep people on the continent, keep the money on the continent and the education, and we could commune with each other? Why do we have to go to Europe? You know, why is it that I don't understand? I just don't understand the logic in that. This is what I'm saying. The people don't really understand something. The OAU is not the same as the African Union. There's not two different things. The original charter of the OAU was based on past colonialism, racism, the transatlantic slave trade. That was identified Africa. Now African is identified by the African Union as anybody born on the continent. That means Charisse Theron, right, the actress, is an African, more than Dinah Samir, The Indians, the Lebanese, anybody born on the continent is classified as an African. Haiti is not part of Africa. That's what the former UN, AU, but Haiti is not African enough. That's the blackest country on the planet, but it's not African enough. So the idea of defining Africa by by geography was an attempt to exclude the millions of African and basically discredit the whole history of the slave trade. The purpose. Why? Because it means power. It means war. If you basically decide Africa by, we live in Africa, kumbaya, Hakuna Matata, everything. You got white Afrikaners and everybody, we're all Africans now, and therefore that's the reason why look, we didn't win anything with the African Union. We did not. We lost. We lost. You would never have Asians. You go to a white person could live in Hong Kong for centuries, right? We've been centuries. They'll never become Chinese. But the only group of people where you can just be on the continent and decide you want to become an African is the black race, because we're conquered. We're conquered people. And this is why I say, like I said, when you look at Liberia's constitution, only an African black can be a citizen. That's why they hate Liberia so much, what it symbolizes. And that comes out of the African American experience. And so that's what I want to say.
All right, we got Ed, go ahead, Ed. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me once again. Sorry, I had some technicalities. With regards to Nigeria's academics, right? There have been now for the last 10 years, ICT centers, the central bank as well, engineering centers and things of that nature, and information communication technology centers have been already earmarked by the Central Bank of Nigeria to be established in the 6 geopolitical zones. Having said that, there are several engineering companies in Nigeria that are Nigerian. Even Julius Berger, even though it started in Germany, the Nigerian Julius Berger that does most of the construction is actually a Nigerian company, and
It's
they
actually German too. It's German
no,
too.
no, Julius Berger. The name Julius Berger is from a German,
It's a,
right?
but
But
it's still a lot. They outsource a lot of the logistics to Germany.
color,
Come on,
color. Can
we've
I
been through this, bro.
color?
Most of the logistics
Can
are
I,
in Germany.
land, right? Color. In Germany, Julius Berger wasn't a major company in Germany. What happened was it was now franchised into Nigeria, and then the Nigerians bought Julius
They
Berger
bought into
in
it.
Nigeria.
They have a stock. Let's be
You,
honest
no,
with
no, they
ourselves.
are no. You don't seem to
It's a
know.
stock corporate.
Wait,
Nigerians own a lot of stock in the
listen.
company
Julius
and whatnot,
Berger,
but the logistics
listen,
is still
Kala,
Hey,
German.
Kyle, let him finish. Let him finish. Kyle, let him
Kala,
finish.
I am Nigerian. I'll tell you this point blank, right? Julius Berger, the company, Julius Berger in Nigeria, PLC, right, is completely and entirely owned by Nigerians, right? Now, Julius Berger International is the German company, right?
Right.
Now, Julius Berger International is based in Germany. So,
Right.
yeah,
You may seem like Julius Berger International was Nigerian. It's not,
no, I didn't say
It's just a
that.
You guys have a franchise of it.
Kala, do you know why I had to actually explain was because you didn't understand what I had said. That's why I explained it. But if you um when this video is up, you see I said Julius Berger Nigeria, right? PLC is wholly Nigerian. Then there's Julius Berger International. What happens is Julius Berger Nigeria does the construction. However, in major like right now they're doing the third Niger, the second Niger bridge, for instance. That level of engineering outsources it to Julius Berger International.
Of course, I said
That
that.
happens now.
That's what we said.
No,
We all,
that's not
Edward.
logistics. No,
We all
listen, right? You
know
were
that.
talking
We
about,
all
listen,
know that.
Carla, you were talking about logistics, right? When it
Yeah,
comes to
they outsource the
listen,
logistics.
listen,
The planning.
no, that is design. That is design.
Hold up, Edwin. I'm gonna give you a little education here. You know what the 5 elements of logistics are? Well, you know what they are. And each part of Nigeria, Julius Berger, Nigeria, only has a portion of each element. The 5 elements are engineering, procurement, construction, operations, and maintenance. That's EPCOM. Okay. There's no African has all 400 of that. They outsource parts of that to each one. The only thing that might come close
Actually,
to the procurement department, the procurement
listen,
element
right?
of it, with him. But
This is
even
where you
then,
have it wrong. I'm
Nigeria
just
doesn't have
using
the capacity to
color,
bring all that stuff in by itself.
color. Stop. This is where you have it wrong, right? I'm using Julius Berger as an example because it's a well-known company. There are other companies in Nigeria that are 100% from engineering all the 5 elements of logistics down to the latter. I hope you're
Then
aware
why are the
about it.
Chinese there? Why are the Chinese building road
Listen,
highways? Then why are the Chinese building the railways?
listen to this, right? For instance, I'll even give you an instance, right? The Apapa Road was constructed by Dangote Group. Everything about that road was Dangote. Do you understand? There are several companies in Nigeria that do the entire process. However,
Edward,
listen,
we're proud of that.
Carla, listen to this. Listen to this properly. When it comes to engineering, there's several engineering companies that have the entire spectrum of logistics down to the T, all Nigerian.
On a large
However,
scale, all the 5 elements,
all
all by
5
itself.
elements. That's what I'm telling you, right? All 5 elements. There are Nigerian companies that have all 5.
That could build a railway. That could build
5 elements.
listen.
Listen. Can you listen, Coleman? Damn. For how many years have I known you, bro? At some point, you need to quit. Listen. Now, the major problem is in manufacturing of building materials. That's where the major problem is. Manufacturing of building materials. That's where you now have hiccups in steel manufacturing. You now have hiccups in, predominantly steel manufacturing. This is where there is a major problem, and also obviously for technology equipment, power tools, manufacturing, all of that. That's where there is a major problem in Nigeria, and predominantly majority of the African continent, right, is in the manufacturing base that would supply the engineering companies.
A manufacturing supply chain, like I said.
Yeah. So no. Listen, right? That is where there is a problem. So they can supply, but there are now in Nigeria right now, there is a new steel plant. It's in Kaduna State that just started, I think, 3 years ago, because the other steel plant was built by the Russians, and we had spoken about this in one of the videos prior to now, Ajakuta steel plant, but there was all this geopolitics, and the same thing happened with the Nigerian refineries, which was also built by Russians. There's all this geopolitics that happened, and that's why there hasn't been 100% output, and the steel plant has been 90% complete and had been moribund.
Well, let me ask you about that steel plant. Let me ask you about the power plant that Germans wanted to build, right? The power plant,
No, not German. It's not the German. It's not German.
No, a German company wanted to come in and build a power plant.
That is something new, right? I'm talking about.
I know, but I want to ask you about it. I want to ask your opinion on it. I just want to ask your opinion on it. I just want to ask your opinion. Okay.
Go ahead.
Now, the Nigerians said that we want a certain amount of local ownership of the production. We want to be able to supply all this stuff like that. And the Germans like, look, why don't you guys let us come here, build the power plants, right? Everything. We got our own suppliers and everything like that, and gradually take over. Nigerians said, no, on day one, we want this. And the Germans said, look, man, there's no guarantee that you could supply us on a timely basis. You know that for a fact of the matter, right? When you give the Nigerians these contracts to supply, they say, okay, you said we want this, we want to become suppliers and everything, and you can't deliver. That's why we bring our own people over here, because they can supply us and everything. They're not going to friggin' take a 10-day holiday, whatever like that, and not supply us and everything. And so I'm on the black racist side, right? But at some point in time, we got to start acting like a friggin' adults, and Nigeria has to lead the way. I don't know what's going to happen. Nigeria has to become the leader and say, look, we're the biggest country on the African continent. We're going to show by example that we could do what we can meet these challenges and everything, and show the rest of the African world that we could build stuff that we're worthy partners in the world and we're a good, safe investment. Until that happens, until people put billions of dollars in Nigeria, and Nigeria has the most number of incomplete projects because people just give up. Because
Okay, so Carla, are you asking me a question or are you making a statement?
Well, I'm making a statement, but I'm just saying, but that's
okay. I thought you were asking
going down this foxhole again. You
tell
me stuff. We're saying the
same
thing.
Carla, now when it comes to power generation, right? The thing that has happened in Nigeria is, in the 70s and 80s, one thing we got wrong was not having a steel industrial complex that would have 100% capacity output. Now, in that 70s
that takes 80s, hard work.
Now, listen, right? The actual industrial complex that was being built was the Ajakuta Steel Industrial Complex, and the iron ore, since we have iron ore, right? So at 90% completion, that got involved with geopolitics because it was Russians that built it, and ever since then they've been trying to sell it or lease it out to Western companies to come and revive it, and nothing. They just come, and one Indian company, they just strip out whatever was there and things of that nature. So now with the Siemens power generation project, bear in mind, we don't have a functioning steel plant. Ajakuta is still moribund at that time. And this Kaduna new steel plant was not online at the time they were doing the Siemens deal. Now, that is obviously means that Nigerians wouldn't be able to supply whatever it was, because we haven't had decades of understanding, the different is it metallurgy, or if I sorry I
Metallurgy,
yeah,
metallurgy.
metallurgy. So I got that. We haven't practiced that yet. That's the issue in the manufacturing sector in Nigeria today. Because of that, we haven't been able to create industries out of that. So therefore, when it comes to manufacturing, predominantly what we do is we import our steel and things of that nature, which now with the Kaduna steel plants now active, perhaps we will be able to get right the Ajakuta. Getting right the Ajakuta steel plant would mean Russia coming back to complete what they had started. The idea of giving it to the UK or America or India or even China is just going to be a waste of time. And obviously, everybody knows that involves geopolitics. Clearly, right now, Russia is the most sanctioned country in the world, and everybody based on Ukraine are just yapping about Russia. For me, we don't have any bone in their fight. It's between them. As far as the African continent, like I said earlier in the previous video, where we were together with America First Rifleman, is simple. Our quest should be, what can we get technologically to implement on the continent and manufacture our own technology and reverse engineer what type of economic plus we could get for our own prosperity. That should be, as a non-alignment country, and the majority of the African continent is non-alignment, that should be our approach to these crises in Europe.
I agree, but there is a larger play that's happening here. What America has essentially done is, by pushing Ukraine this way, they've allowed Russia and China to forge a closer relationship, which inevitably affects all of us. So I think it is something you need to look at and pay attention to, the relationship between Russia and China, and who then grows to be the next world hegemon as a result.
Alan, you see that's why that's the thing that you need to understand about the African continent. Like I said earlier, less than 10% of the African continent's debt is held by China. Majority of the debt is held by the Western Hemisphere. So how close China and Russia gets, brilliant. The African continent has been doing trade with Russia, not large trades, but at least a couple of, substantial amounts in millions of US dollar type of trades with Russia for decades, at least the last 20 years.
Yes.
So and with China into about 60 billion, 100 billion thereabout trade with China. So now, with regards to how close their relationship is, the African continent with the West and the East is based on what we can be able to achieve, how much technology we can get transferred and reverse engineered to implement indigenous solutions for ourselves. And obviously with finance, how much finance we'll be able to attract for our own prosperity, right? However, having said that, recently there has been a bill that passed the House in the U.S. Senate. So for the African Americans on this live, I believe that this is something you should call your representatives and speak to them about. The bill was about the United States of America monitoring the
Hey, and Ed,
in
passed by a Democrat. Was
yeah.
Yeah,
presented
let
by
them
a
try it.
Democrat.
Let them try it.
So,
Let them try it.
Dynasty, why are you like this though, bro? Bro, why are you like this?
No,
Why did you
because
have to?
no, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah, you put your
we're really
video
Well,
on
that's
just
what
to make sure.
that's
great
what it is.
African wants.
Huh?
Yeah, because whenever I talk to my
Yeah,
African
I know,
friends,
but
who vote Democrat, and I tell them like, look, this is going to happen.
They're
Y'all
gonna get us
niggas
back in
gotta
chains.
listen.
I
Y'all
know.
don't
They're gonna put us back in chains.
I know, and that's why he put his video back on, because he had to make sure he put that out. Okay, so I'm gonna read the bill. I love to read. I'll read the bill. I have it on my other phone, so
Man,
I'm just,
yeah. You know what I like to do? Yeah, hold on. This is what I want to do. I want to come back like in an hour, like 2 hours. I just want to do a separate show on the bill. The bill needs to be a separate show.
yeah. But let's do this, right. Let me just read the
No. But I want the bill to be a separate. That this needs to be a whole separate show. Yeah, like I don't like that. This needs to be a whole separate show because I need to go in on how. And I said this before, and I got pushback. I said a lot of Africans in the West are a liability to Africa, and stuff like this is the
and do
reason
you
why.
know, Dynast, do you know why it's brilliant that you're the one saying it? Because if an African says it, they're always like, oh man, he's just hating, and stuff like that. But African Americans need to understand that a lot of the things you're pushing and fighting for are seen as white supremacist ideologies on the African continent.
Yeah. So it was me, I think Kala on Saturday we did a show.
Yeah.
And a brother asked, it was an African immigrant brother. He said, okay, you're a Democrat, great. Do you believe in
I was
transgender?
watching.
And he exploded. It's just
He
like this is the kind of
exploded.
stuff he's
I
pushing.
was watching. It was the real African, I think, or was it?
Great African.
Yeah, great
The
African,
great African. I said, and he started saying "fuck you" and all of that on the show. I watched it, and I was like, that is what we need. We need like Black Americans in general, plus the migrants, right? Foundational Black Americans plus the migrants, right? Actually see that if you're supporting an actual political party and they're pushing these policies, it actually affects your own children. That's what got him. That's what got the great African mad, was because I don't know who it was. Was it Kala that said?
No, it was a U.S. lawyer. Alan, did you watch it?
It was U.S.
lawyer. Alan, did you watch the show on Saturday, Alan?
No, I didn't watch that show.
All right, so let me tell you what happened. So great African who was a diehard Democrat, right? Diehard. So we just started going back and forth on how a lot of the Democratic policies in the past have negatively impacted Africa. So and Black people in general. So U.S. lawyer was like, okay, the whole Democrat Party, transgender restrooms, gender fluidity. To a point now, Alan, if your son decides that he wants to be a woman at 7 years old, they could assign him his gender and there's nothing you could do about it. And U.S. lawyer was like, stuff like this affects you and your children, great African. And he blew up. Man, I love my kids. I won't do nothing ever to hurt my kids. What you talking about?
But Dang, you missed the part. But you missed this one part where he blew it off. Like, oh, I'm like, yo, dude, man, you can't just sit here in America saying, yeah, I made out of Africa and everything's good. The bottom line is this: these people, just transgender, would not be in power if it were not for Black people. Think about that. Black people are the only reasons why Joe Biden's in office and these Democrats are in office, right? If we basically say we're going to be just for 20 years vote Republican, all this transgender, all this nonsense and everything we see, the whole culture would change overnight.
Let me say something as well, right? A lot of African Americans don't know this, so I'm going to say, former President Barack Obama, right? He's the first and I think the only so far U.S. president to address the entire African Union, with all the presidents and heads of states sat down at an African Union summit, right? He gets
about gays, homosexual.
He goes up there and he's talking about LGBTQIA, etc. Everybody is looking at each other like, what the? Do you understand what's going on here? And he keeps pushing it, and then he tells them that, if they don't take this human rights afterwards, his statements came out that if they don't take this as human fundamental human rights and put it into law, that the United States has this as its foreign policy, and therefore they will stop aid.
Yep.
U.S. aid.
Yep.
And then
He's done that all over the world. He's done that all over the world.
Color,
He-
but
No.
this is about us.
Let me interject. Sorry. Let me interject. Alan, he hasn't done that in Saudi Arabia.
No, he can't do it there.
Because they're weak.
Wait, Alan,
He's done that in the Caribbean.
Alan, do you see what you just did right there? We're
What?
talking about ourselves here. You're not saying, "Hey, look, he did it with the white folks." Hey,
No, I didn't say the white folks. I said
no.
I said
But
he's doing it
hey,
all over the
and
world.
then guess what happened? Dynasty now said, but he didn't do it with the Arabs. You see what our problem is we're always about, hey, look, he did the same with that. That's not our.
No, you misunderstood what I was saying.
I don't think
What I was referring to
He's
was
talking
the fact
about
that
the fact that he would not dare do that to Saudi Arabia. He would not dare do that to Iran, Iraq, everything. He said he would not dare do that. It's only Africans because we are weak.
Sorry,
we're the weaker race.
Sorry, I got it wrong, Alan. Sorry.
what I was trying to say is that he's done this in other parts of the world as well. They in Jamaica, they went up there and flew the LGBTQ flag down there in Kingston at the U.S. Embassy as a show of defiance. When Kamala Harris met with my prime minister in Barbados, she kind of talked about pushing the LGBTQ agenda there as well. When Kenyatta showed up at the White House,
though.
yeah. When Kenyatta showed up at the White House, he tried to put him on the spot and push him.
No. Hold on, Alan. It was the other way around. Obama.
It was all the way around. Obama went to Kenya and was.
That's right. He went to Kenya. You're right.
Kenyatta told him straight up in front of everybody.
Correct.
Listen, yes, we understand LGBT, but for us Africans, that is not an issue. What we are concerned about is trade. And thank God you mentioned that, because guess what happened? Do you know, like, under President Barack Obama's tenure, the United States of America recorded its lowest trade with the African continent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you know that since
I wish you
wait, can I
Great African send Great African an email about that.
Carla, can I also say something as well? Under the former President Barack Obama, since the discovery of crude oil in Nigeria, for the first time since the discovery of crude oil in Nigeria, under President Barack Obama, Nigeria recorded 0 sales to the United States. Since ever they discovered crude oil in Nigeria, they have always had American buying crude oil, America being its top crude oil importer of Nigerian crude, right? Under President Barack Obama, it went down to 0 because at some point, Nigeria banned LGBT and it was, 15 years imprisonment. Guys, can you remember, like, there have been gays, there have been LGBTQIA, etc. on the African continent. Nobody paid them no mind. But as soon as the Obama administration made it their foreign policy, that's when a backlash happened.
Well, Obama didn't only make it his foreign policy; he made it his domestic policy. In that he went ahead and he spoke to the churches, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere,
all the black churches flipped.
All the black Christians were for LGBTQIA.
Yeah, but the black churches already. The black churches, the thing about the black churches was because
the gays infiltrated the black church, bro. They infiltrated.
Bush. No, it was George Bush. Remember George Bush? He passed some bill. I think it's FBI or something. It's like a bill to have the churches also be part of like a funding program or something.
Yeah. But I think it's the funding program, but I don't think the churches can be political or something like that, or they lose funding or something like that.
The faith-based initiative.
But faith-based initiative. Yes, thank you very much. So that is an inroad for them to influence the black churches. So now, most times you notice the African American black churches in the last at least 10 years, you guys can see that they're not as lit about the liberation struggle as they used to be. So
So
why
are
are
you
we
are
having
you
this?
really
Why
so
are
are
we
you
having this?
saying that Black Democrats have single-handedly stopped trade with Africa?
1,000% under President Barack Obama. It was, and it wasn't just the African continent, even Caribbean countries as well. Caribbean countries. And shout out to Barbados, yo. Barbados was instrumental in getting Caribbean countries to back the Nigerian woman who was running for the World Trade Organization, Dr. Nkosi Iweala. Barbados was instrumental. They put it on their back. America at the time, they were against it. So do you see, sisters and brothers, like, you need to understand how some of the actions you take domestically affects the way the rest of the global
Hey,
black.
Edwin, I have to say this.
Look at
Edwin, it goes like this, right? We're black sheeple. Well, you know what sheeple means?
no. See, Carla, I don't. Carla, you're a foundational Black American.
Oh, I don't know
And
about
I am African, and I
I
disagree
mean,
with you
Kyle's telling the
insulting.
truth,
I
though. Kyle's
disagree
telling
with
the
you
truth.
insulting my sisters and brothers with such things. You need to
Nah,
retract
Kyle,
back that
I'm
Yo,
sorry,
statement.
Eddie.
look, yo,
Kyle is
bro,
telling
we're
the
a
truth.
sheep.
Kyle
No,
is telling the truth.
you can't do this,
No,
though. I
we will
refuse.
vote. We will vote for our own
Don't,
destruction every
bro,
We
time.
vote
bro.
for our own destruction. We don't care. We're
American
sheep. We
first
vote for whoever
riflemen,
tells
I
us. We're
know.
like
We all know
bad,
this, right? But can we
bad.
not use such
Democrats
vulgar terms?
good.
Oh,
Republicans
bye.
bad. We're sheep.
Oh,
Nah, man, you
Bad,
can't. Nah,
bad
I can't
Republicans.
believe this. You
Bad,
both, man.
bad
I can't
orange
believe
man.
both of you. No,
Good, good
listen, right?
Democrats.
Listen, right?
We're
Let's not
sheep.
use vulgar terms against ourselves. I disagree with what Kala said. I want Kala to retract that statement because it's not good.
I wish I could retract
Listen,
that statement, man, but we're sheep.
Carla, wait, listen to this, right? Wait, Carla, listen to this, right? On this YouTube video right now, we have foundational Black Americans on this YouTube video. We have Africans on this YouTube video. We have Caribbean on this YouTube video.
But when we go
We
to
have
the
a Black
polls,
European. Wait,
I'm
can I
African.
land? Can I finish my point? And then we have a Black European on this YouTube video, right? So please let us not use vulgar words against any of our people. Because this is
Dude,
like,
stop.
this
Hold
is
on,
a
hold on. Hold on,
representation
Eddie.
of the
Can I say something?
global Black
Can I say
community
something,
right
Eddie?
here on this app. If we had
Can I say
someone
something?
from Papua New Guinea, that will be complete. But this is
Okay.
like 90, okay, and Afro Latinos. So we could say we have like
Hey.
70% of the global Black community being represented on this YouTube live right now. So please, let's just,
Well,
Kala,
but
retract your statement, bro. You can't say
okay.
that
Well,
about
okay.
our
Well,
sisters
I'm
and
just
brothers.
saying,
oh,
like,
like you talking about
I'm.
call us sheeple? I said we act like sheeple, Edwin.
Yeah.
Edward.
Well,
We
also
act like
too,
sheep.
Oh, all right.
there's a
Okay.
there's a saying, we would rather be stroked with destroyed by compliments than saved by criticism. You know what I'm saying? And that's the main thing. It's just like so
Constructive
many
criticism.
criticism in any way. The thing about it is, especially Western Black, I'm not going to talk about brothers and sisters on the continent, but at Black America especially, we got soft behinds where people blow up and just start crying over the slightest feeling of disrespect. They just turn their mind off if they think somebody just like, I don't care about what you said. You said this about me, and they get in this over emotional state, and that's been a killer for us.
Yeah, emotional reactionary behavior. Yeah, it's something I and Colin have discussed for years. Like I think we all agree that we should be focused more on solutions now. I mean, the debate era is over. This is not.
Well, I got a solution. I actually got a big solution, especially to what we're talking about with the decrease in African trade. Y'all on the continent, I don't know if you guys are already doing this, so anybody correct me, especially dealing with the American political system. Y'all Nigerians need to start coming with that oil money and paying off our politicians. Like every other race of people on the planet got their vested interest and they pay off Congress.
That's what I don't understand.
We need y'all with y'all billions of dollars in oil money to come over here and start paying our politicians off like everybody else do.
Yeah,
You
I
would
think
need to tell the people who have those billions. I mean, they're not on
I
this
think
panel now, so it's kind of pointless.
Are you
wait,
saying we need a black Paul Manafort?
Ejiri, your name sounds Nigerian.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, ẹlẹ́rìí ọmọ Yorùbá ni mí.
You are a Yoruba guy with a London accent.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
All right, cool.
Hey.
Okay,
But
because I
facts,
thought
we
I
do need a
said
black
black
Paul
European.
Manafort from Nigeria.
Yeah. So
In
the
case
thing
you
is,
didn't know, Yid, there are many Nigerians in different parts of the world. They're in England, Scotland,
no.
Wales,
Come on, man.
America.
Don't start.
They're
Don't
even in
start.
France. So
Well, I
don't be
mean, but the
surprised.
thing about it,
They're
what
even in
Don't start
America.
with me.
So don't be surprised if you come across
well,
black
but
Nigerians with
we don't
American
know their
accents as
names.
well.
Like, what initiatives are they
bro,
trying to
don't
get
start with me.
done? Like,
Don't start with me. I know there are Nigerians all over the world. Like,
Yeah, but the thing is, yeah, the Nigerians, a lot of them here in America, they're trying to integrate more in America. They're trying to fix the issues in Nigeria
because they are hustling, man. Listen, right? When it comes to this reality of the situation, when it comes to the global black community, right? When it comes to Africans migrating from the African continent to anywhere in the world, there is a problem. The problem is this. First thing, they have barriers to them having access to anything. So they're working like twice as much, right? Then once they start having access to whatever it is, at that point, predominantly they're already brainwashed. Let's be real. Predominantly they're already brainwashed. So they're just thinking about, hey, how they can get what they can get. And then, oh, I'll just build a retirement home for myself or house or mansion for myself back on the African continent. That becomes their dream is, oh, if I'm able to, two things, build a house for myself back home and possibly establish a business, right? Once they have these two things done on the continent, most times they now start hustling for more money to go show up.
hey,
So,
can I say something after you're done, Eddie?
yeah, sure. So what we we need to do is social engineering on a global scale where we actually create a global institution, right? That understands the fundamental, like how we are on this live right now, except that we'll have two editions, which is an Afro-Latino representative and Papua New Guinea, right? And then it's the entire global black community, and we're able to see all our flaws differently and create the climate or the academic curriculum that will social engineer our people to understand that nation building first and how we'll be able to manufacture, produce what we will consume. Once we are able to do that, it will be best for us, because right now what's happening is we are running helter skelter following so many different ideologies, and we're being brainwashed by so many different levels of mental and through the media attack on our personalities, that most times you meet any black person on planet earth, most times we are very confused about what our identity is and what we want to establish moving forward.
No, that's a great point.
Can I say that, Alan, before you go, somebody in the chat, I think it was WM West Africa 1980. They were like, I guess when I was saying like we need to pay off our politicians in America, he's like, pay them for what? And see, this is what people like Brandon talks about and Dynast and stuff. Look, every other race of people, from Asians to South Americans to everybody else, use their motherlands or their areas of influence and their elites to pay our politicians, like places like Turkey, places like
exactly
places,
Israel,
and they pay
Israel,
and they pay our politicians off to say, hey, like okay, and a Nigerian, somebody from Nigeria with a lot of oil money can say, hey, instead of saying you gotta force us on this LGBTQ stuff, you're saying, no, we're going to ignore that and we're going to trade oil. Okay. And we're going to make that American law. That's where we need to start paying our politicians, not to beg, not to say, this is what's going on. This is going to be for your campaign or whatever. Make your little vacation home. But this is, once you get that money, this is what it's for. And they oblige. And that's the thing about it. That's why in America, you have Asians and Jews that can get anti-hate bills through because they pay off our politicians. That's what we need to start doing.
Yeah. So to buttress that point, America First Rifleman, to buttress that point is this countering the malign Russian activities in Africa Act would not have passed.
No, okay, but don't go too much. We gotta do another.
Yeah, I know.
But you're right. That could have been countered if we put
Yeah,
our money where our
if
mouth
we
is.
had our own lobby, even in the United States. So these are the things that whoever it was in the chat should understand as well. We actually need to always have lobby groups anywhere in the Western and Eastern Hemisphere that get things or protect the African continent and Caribbean countries and Papua New Guinea from policies that are done in the West or the East that affect us.
Well, one thing I wanted to jump on was something you said, Ed, was you talked about having getting our own resources in Africa and allowing, not trying to get things from foreign. I just read an article this morning about, or I didn't finish it, but I started reading an article this morning where they talked about how with since all the grain and everything from Ukraine is dried up, and they say maybe it's time for Africans to finally using cassava to fill in the needs and find ways to fill in, create flour and to do things with that. I thought that was an excellent idea because I know Barbados use cassava flour all the time.
Yeah, Alan.
But they already do that in Nigeria anyway.
Exactly. Well, I was speaking with Alan. You see, there is a problem here. Mm-hmm. Most times, these authors are either white people, right? Mm-hmm. Or they are westernized Black people.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if they're African or Caribbean or Black American. They're just westernized. That they don't know that cassava has always been used. It's still been, they do bread with cassava. Right. It's been for decades, right? So they write those dumb type of articles to please their Western people. Like, oh my God, Africa is going to be impoverished. They're going to die of starvation and things like that. And then Dynast will tell you, then you get to the African continent, and you're like, I doubt these guys are gonna starve to death because of Ukraine.
Nobody here, they'd be just fine.
Okay, so in other words, it's just like it is.
Do you understand? Like you'll be like,
where people say things,
they're not gonna starve because of Ukraine.
So
it was a BBC article. So
oh my God, the man, the man. No, we should say the man wrote the article.
The man's man.
The small man is America, but the man.
That's right.
Article.
I was going to ask what I was thinking in regards to the politics of these communities empowering themselves by lobbying. As in America, so the Italian Americans, the Jewish Americans, they're politically strong because they get the money to lobby politicians, but they also end up looking after their communities in America. Couldn't the Africans do the same thing in the Western countries where they would start lobbying, getting money together, working together, and then lobby for their own political interests whilst they're in the UK or they're in France or they're Germany or wherever? Because they also have an ability to politically lobby the governments in the countries that they are based in to try and make a change within their communities in wherever in the West and also in the African homeland. They could do both, I think.
Yes. And that is exactly why I earlier on state in that what we need is a global institution where every single demographic group of Black people are founding members, because that means that we'll be able to create the academic curriculum, the policies, and outrightly state our interest in the different regions around the world. And therefore, we'll also have buildings that we have bought and built by ourselves in all the different demographic groups around the world. And that is going to be the establishment of how we from there can move forward to actually having lobbying, because now we can meet with our business people and tell them, hey, you have to be giving this amount of money, our billionaires globally and our multimillionaires, to the institution for us to continue our community work around the world. Until we get to that stage that we are able to social engineer ourselves to streamline our ideologies, our philosophies to be actually to precision on what exactly we're doing. We are too confused right now. We are all over the place. These ones are howling, man, LGBT. These ones are howling, man, listen, climate change is ravaging our islands. The African continent is hollering, hey, well, there's oil spills and things like that. So we are all over the place at this point. So we have to streamline everything to precision as to
That's going to be a problem though, because
no,
I don't know where you're based.
with a global
The reason why I say it's
listen
going to
to
be a
this.
problem.
It's
I'll
not
tell you why it's going to be a problem. There are many black people.
Ejire,
Wait.
one
I'm
second.
not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
Yeah. Let Ellery finish. Go ahead.
Let me
very
just
much.
say something.
So
right?
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm saying that there's a problem with that plan. And that problem is the most basic plan amongst black people, whether they're in Europe or in America. A lot of black men and women are not interested in taking part in politics. They feel somehow, whether the Republican or the Democrat thing, they feel it is a waste of time and it oppresses them and it's pointless. I mean, I'm in the UK trying to get black people to get involved in voting and lobbying and trying to get black councillors. They look at you like you're mad. They're like, why are you trying to get involved in the electoral system? It's the white man system. But yet in the UK, I will see other communities, the Jews, the Indians, the Pakistanis, they will get involved. They will have lots of councillors and they will make changes in their neighborhoods. So they've already gone off the mark. They're doing it, but for some reason, trying to get black people, maybe in America, definitely in the UK, to get involved in politics, that's not an easy thing. Most of them don't really care for it.
Well, because they don't understand that all politics are local,
Okay.
and they don't understand that you can't just show up for the national election,
Yeah.
and then neglect
Alan,
the local politics.
Well,
Alan,
it takes
Alan,
work.
one second.
Hold on one second, Eddie. It takes work and continuity, okay? Because yes, to get the ball rolling, I think I said this on maybe Dynast or Brandon's channel. Like me, and this is the lowest political position you can have. I'm a PCP in my local county where I just went to the local party and I helped drive the vote. So and there were 10 positions just in my district alone. There were 4 out of 10 that people took. So a lot of white people aren't taking this serious either. But what I'm saying is, like, you start there and you build up a core of people, and then it takes time to get certain agendas through. It takes continuity, like I said. So it's going to take a few years, but unfortunately, a lot of our people don't want to do what it takes. They want, like Alan just said, they just want to show up for the national election and say I did my part, and then complain in another 4 years about how nothing got done. So, and the thing about it is like that's it. That's the solution. But until we do that, nobody's going to take us serious on a global scale. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
And Ed, go ahead and respond, and we're going to go ahead and close out. So go ahead.
Yeah. So Ejire, you see why I said a global institute.
Sorry, Larry.
Oh, Larry. Okay, so yeah, Yoruba, you're not Larry, right? You see why I said a global institution? Because when it's a global institution, what happens that has all the different demographic groups, what happens with a global institution is it's there for a long term. So the more activities it does, the more it gets strengthened. Strengthening is the key word. And that means that the more reach it will get to the grassroots, that means it can also get to younger generations faster than the older generations. And so once you start social engineering our race from a very young age to understanding these different concepts, right? Especially that you have done this precision that this is what we're wanting to achieve in these different demographic groups of black people across the world, and this group economics base that we have. What happens is those children will grow up to be 30-year-olds that will be very sophisticated in fighting for the whatever it is that our agenda is, which will be practically our empowerment, right? That's how it works. It's not a miracle. The problem we're having right now is people think that it's like a magic wand, an overnight miracle. Lord, I prayed in the morning, it was done. It's not like that. You have to look at the short term is for us to actually create the global institution, bring all different demographic groups of black people together. Medium term, we start financing it as sovereign global institution. Long term is we now have been able to train our different demographic groups of black people to actually 30 years old, where they are now sophisticated in understanding what their empowerment looks like, and they cannot be bamboozled for all these different LGBT, all these different other stuff that doesn't empower them at all. In any political party, they would be looking at themselves as sovereign people, look to empower themselves wherever they are in the world and be looking for those positions. It's very interesting, Larry, that you actually talked about the UK. In the UK, you can see what the Asians have done. Right now, the Chancellor, Checker, that's the treasurer in America, he's from Asia, right? The mayor of London, he's from Asia. The minister of health, he's from Asia, right?
And the Home Secretary, Priti
The
Patel.
home secretary that controls the MI5, the police, and immigration and all of that. She's
Oh,
from
wait. By the way, when we in the UK say Asian, we don't mean Chinese or Japanese. We
we're
mean
not meaning Chinese, we're
Indians,
saying
Pakistani.
Indo-Asian. Okay, let's say Indo-Asian, right? Indo-Asian should be there. So we're talking about Pakistan and India, Sri Lanka, and countries like that. So that is them pulling their resources together. And now in the 21st century, they are in the helm of affairs when it comes to UK politics. Black UK people, well, practically they're nowhere with regards to that. So we can see that happen everywhere around the world. The problem is we don't have a global institution that is sovereign, that is funding, that we are funding by ourselves, that will keep that pressure, that will be able to transcend several decades, be here for 100 years, and will make sure that the empowerment of black people in whichever locality or community they are in is in its uttermost interest. With that, I yield the mic. Thank you.
All right, cool. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Hey, Ed, send me an email or put your email in the private chat. Do me a favor, do that. Put it in the private chat. But everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Till next time, family dynasty, mirror search for Huru. Peace.